Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand, stars burn the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, raise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
Okay, welcome back to Continue Freedom, guys. I just saw down in the comments, Gary is doing an X space right now, question mark, and then I saw Bronson just posted a video. Hey, good to see you guys. Adri, good to see you. Our house, I rule. Everybody down in the chat, love you guys. Y'all are awesome. X Samurai, good to see you as well. Guys, get in the chat if you're here. It's going to be an interesting conversation. The Fauci stuff. Hey, good to see you too, Tonya. Thanks to all the members, by the way. Everybody that's been supporting this channel, I really appreciate it. But this, after Fauci made his debut in the Senate today and got grilled by a lot of people, this is the sort of stuff that started coming. Once I checked it on X, this is the sort of stuff that started coming up. And it really was like, it's a wild time. In the chat, let me know if you had a job, a business, something that was in some cases maybe irreparably damaged because of all the nonsense that was being thrown to us by these little mini bureaucrats. And, we talk about it all the time on here, that when you give power to these little bureaucrats, unaccountable bureaucrats, in the case of Fauci, because he gets one of the auto pin pardons on Biden's way out the door for 10 years, 11 years, I think is what it was. Absolutely disgusting. But we give these little bureaucrats a bunch of power, and they almost always abuse it. I give the example of, my dad, who was trying to, if you're a repeat viewer of this show, you've heard me tell this story before, but for the new folks, he was trying to build a building on his little piece of property, his tiny little piece of property, trying to put up a building, and some bureaucrat in white tennis shoes and a clipboard from the EPA said he's not allowed to do it, said that it was a wetlands, and shut down the whole operation for like 2 years. Cost him a ton of money. It was absolutely deplorable. But Fauci was doing this kind of crap on a national scale. And this is the funny part of it. We laugh in hindsight about people thinking that it's like checking a box just because some little fascist like Anthony Fauci said to. And here's the other thing. I'm doing this video, actually, I'm gun shy about this content, about doing stuff that references COVID-19, because I had my whole year-long YouTube jail sentence that they, put on my channel because I said something that they didn't like, because the fascists who also run social media companies, they didn't like it either. And so I'm going to talk about it, but just remember, it's helpful if you guys become members, if you check in on the channel every now and then, because this is something that could legit get people, like small channels like myself in particular, because they really don't want us doing anything that's going to gain any traction that way. But we have to talk about the evils that took place then, and we're going to talk about Fauci and it's a lot of these hearings, they are they're dog and pony shows. Here, I'm going to hide this. I don't know if you guys remember seeing this video from back in COVID. I'm ginning up the frustration, and I'm ginning up the, all the emotions that we had from then, because we have to remember it and we can't forget what they did to us. This is at a funeral, and the family wanted to sit next to the grieving widow, and they booted her out. Yeah, Tina says, what's the color of your tie? I plead the fifth. That was Anthony Fauci all day today. I plead the fifth. So we just pled the fifth. And Josh Hawley, which we'll get into his video, makes a point that we made even when it came to it wasn't just Fauci. It was, who was it? Somebody else that had been given a pardon. And if you were given a pardon, then the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply. This is long established legal precedent. And maybe if I could get, maybe I could ask Gil that one from The Whole Truth. He's the only lawyer that I converse with right now online, and he would probably know. But this is a long-standing tradition that if you were given a pardon, the Fifth doesn't matter because you can't incriminate yourself if you've been given, again, a sweeping pardon for any of the crimes committed during the time in question. So, and by the way, I'm sorry if I keep clearing my throat. Right before I got started, I had started having a coughing fit for some reason. Really weird. Let's play. We're going to go through some clips here. This one is, I don't want to play that one. Oh, here we go. This is kind of a reminder of the type of person that we're dealing with. We all experienced it. I'm dredging up some painful memories for everybody. I apologize for that, but we kind of have to. Let's play this one here.
But we don't want to be told what to do. Well, I understand that, but now is the time to do what you're told. And I think it really is something that we should be doing right now. But we don't want to be.
And this this was it, by the way, the diary that was part of this. I might be skipping around. Hold on. Golly, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what is going on here. I'm talking about this. Is the government pumping something into my AC system while I'm talking about Fauci and I start having a coughing attack? This is the type of person that we're dealing with. Do what you're told. And that's obviously antithetical to most of us in America. But the very people that I was showing you before, these type of people, it was, I said back then, well, post-COVID, that this was really letting the bureaucrats and the fascists inside of our government let us know exactly who's who. So we were divided along this. The person who was wearing a mask, a year after they were told they didn't have to, question marks. The people who were willing to turn in their neighbors, we saw it in California, we saw it in all the blue states, even in red states, there were people that had this irrational fear, willing to turn in their neighbors, willing to turn them over to the authorities. This is what the government learned during COVID. Do we think they've forgotten? No, the deep state's still a thing. I think that some of this, honestly, is going to, in the future, so long as the USAID funding isn't, I think that was a component of it. But nonetheless, let's not in the medical stuff. That was just straight up NIH and all these agencies. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip here. This is something that was brought up today. That the kind of gross stuff that these government agencies are doing. Here we go. Let's play this one.
NIH funded putting aborted babies' fingers and scalps off the heads of aborted babies and putting them into the backs of research mice. The scalps later grew fine baby hair in the mice. They even included those disgusting photos in their research paper that you funded. Not all of those were research on coronaviruses, but some were. Thankfully, the current NIH director has said, no more of this. Dr. Fauci, yes or no? Do you think that human aborted parts should be put into mice for coronavirus research?
The advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And it was that on a loop, by the way. I like the fact that they're putting this stuff on the record. And Fauci, I mean, fine, he's pleading the Fifth. This is going to be debated, I'm sure, amongst other legal people, whether he should. They're like I said, let me play Josh Hawley's because he laid it out pretty clear. I think it was this one here. Yeah, this is the one here. I'm going to play this. Yeah, Josh Hawley. This is the right one. Let's play this one here.
Well, nothing says honesty like taking the Fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment.
Oops. Oh, sorry.
Let's try something.
The advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because...
By the way, if a pardon wasn't part of this, absolutely. Fifth Amendment, plead the Fifth. If these people, they will snip. It doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. They want to snip certain pieces out of what you say to try and say that you perjured yourself or whatever. But in this instance, it doesn't apply. It just doesn't apply. There's a legal precedent for this. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe somebody out there in the chat or whatever could explain to me the intricacies of this as I was, researching it beforehand. I didn't find anything that said that Anthony Fauci could plead the Fifth here when called before the Senate. That may exist somewhere else. But the Fifth is a thing, and the Fifth is fine. In this instance, it's not. What's he going to get? What's he going to get in trouble for? Nothing. He's got a blanket pardon to cover the past 10 years.
You did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich. While people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
She was your personal assistant. And what were these individuals doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020 when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID? What were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Folkers says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID? He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It was a $900,000 cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got it because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder. Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service. You've got the Adelson Prize. You've got the Smithsonian Award. You've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award. You've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, you turned your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are right over my shoulder.
Do I think that he feels any guilt? No. I honestly don't think he does. By the way, if I ever get busted with a diary in the first place, I don't know. Any guys out there keep a diary? Sorry, I don't. I don't keep a diary. There is no diary for this guy. But the fact that he kept so much of this information, which we're going to go over in a minute, but not all of it. We're going to go over some of the key points. He was swooning over himself in his private diary, talking about how many celebrities would reach out to him, how he couldn't go out in public. He's the most famous person nationally and internationally. Like this was a straight up ego trip for him. The whole COVID thing was an ego trip for him because he had his finger on the U.S. economy, the world economy. People were coming to him, asking him what to do. And this little fascist was sitting in here making money for himself. There were people that were getting grants, working for the government, getting grants for the very things that they were pushing, or not grants, but money. Royalties, rather. That's what I was trying to say. Royalties. Like this was it was an absolute fiasco. And you're asking me, Natalie, do I think he feels any guilt? No, I don't think he does. I don't think he has a lick of guilt. He looks defeated here, but I almost think that he feels defeated because he wants to spit back. This is my assumption. He wants to fire back at these folks, and he can't. His lawyers aren't letting him, even though he should be. But yeah, you're right. Keeping a diary is narcissistic. I mean, let's see. I was thinking that too. Yeah. No, I don't know any adults. Maybe there's some people. There's people out there that journal and that sort of thing. But the funniest part was he was keeping his diary, essentially, saying one thing to his diary. Dear diary, today I said that, this to the press, that this didn't come from, or that this came from a lab, or not from a lab. This came from a wet market. But I really knew that this was that this came from a lab in Wuhan. I mean, this is basically like just how big of an idiot do you have to be? He's sitting there on a government computer, by the way. This is why it all became public record. So Secretary Kennedy actually found it, and he's the one that turned it over to Rand Paul. And I'll show you how Rand Paul presents it on X, because he's taking a jab at it too. But the guy was basically sitting there confessing to lying inside of his own diary. And I think that he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the fame. It's the same thing, by the way, because a separate issue we're going to talk about is the Stu Peters and Andrew Wilson debate. I'm going to get to that one after we go through some of this Fauci stuff. But the people who will openly boldface lie to whether it's their viewership, and in Fauci's case is lying to everybody in the country, boldface lies to the American people, knowingly lying to the American people just as a CYA sort of thing. Anybody that can do that, I mean, that takes a special level of moral depravity, I think. And to do it so fluently as he did, and so consistently over time, keep the lie going. Anything to cover my backside. This is what he was doing. But these other grifters online, they do the same thing. They're just lying to people. They're doing it for clicks. He was doing it because Beyonce was retweeting him, and Julia Roberts had him on her Instagram account to do a live, and people were singing songs with his name. In fact, on my X account, you can go check out my X account. I made a post of that kid who was holding up the sign, and he was singing the Dr. Fauci song. That, this is what he loved. People are making songs about me. The children are singing my name. The government officials love me. The celebrities love me. Oh, it's wonderful. I go out and people want to have their picture taken with me. What a narcissist.
Here's all of them. The people that you use, federal employees, so that you could go and get cash money. And the most hilarious part is that you weren't content to even dragoon them into applying for all of these cash awards. You then had them go out to the ethics agencies and ethics watchdogs and demand that you be able to get the money. That's right. We've got it in your emails. Your staff and employees on federal time, using federal resources, being paid with federal dollars, are soliciting cash for you. And then they're turning around and saying to the agency, we don't want just an answer. We want to get to yes, because Fauci wants the money. He wants it. We want to get to yes, and yes takes time. This is your chief of staff again, using federal email to pressure the agency's own ethics people so that you could get money, so that you could get rich. And it violated the law, didn't it, Dr. Fauci? Didn't it? It violated the law, didn't it?
Is that a question?
It is a question. You can answer. Go ahead.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer
What a
based upon my
gutless
rights
coward.
under the Fifth Amendment
What
to
a
the
gutless
Constitution.
Federal law,
coward.
as you
My
very well
goodness.
know, prohibits the solicitation of cash awards or other personal benefits for federal employees. And it certainly prohibits using your own employees to do this. 5 CFR section 2635-205B. It says it right there in black and white. You cannot use federal resources, federal dollars, federal employees, federal offices, federal email, federal time to solicit cash awards. And you did all of it. And the worst part is thousands of people were dying while you were doing it. You were supposed to be the nation's doctor, and you're playing one on TV. But this is what you were doing with your time. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, I can see why. I can certainly see why. You know what I can't quite figure out is that why you were so obsessed with it, because you're already rich. I mean, and your scheme worked here. I mean, your net worth now is north of $12 million. You got over $1 million in cash awards during COVID, during a 12-month, 24-month span during COVID. $1 million you knocked down in cash money using federal resources. Now you're worth more than $12 million. You've got a pension that in its first year paid out north of $400,000 a year. 1 million people dead, you're getting rich. 1 million people dead, you're using federal employees to get cash awards for you. 1 million people dead, and you're here taking the fifth because you don't want to admit that what really happened in all that time was a multi-month, multi-year course of self-dealing. Isn't that true, Dr. Fauci?
I mean, this is, like I say, a lot of this is dog and pony show, and it's people making a scene. The people on the left do it, the people on the right do it. So I don't want to overplay the fact that this is a Senate hearing. I get it, and I think we all get that. But at the same time, if there was anybody who deserved a grilling, this guy is it. And I asked the question earlier, and people down in the chat, you all were talking about family members that were impacted, and I saw that one. That let me see if I can find it. I missed it. I apologize. I asked the question, then didn't go back to it. But somebody's mother had been, and I experienced this with my father-in-law. My father-in-law was ill, and he was locked away behind glass while he was suffering, and no human contact. I mean, it was like putting people in prison in these places. And man, he was even admitting, by the way, on television, he was coming out saying that let me see if I can find it. I didn't pull that clip, but he would give the percentages of 2%. In one case, he said it was about 3% for the mortality rate. Meanwhile, in his diary, saying it was 0.1 to 0.2%. So saying one thing to the public in order to keep people terrified, to keep people locked away, to exercise whatever, fascist little control that he could. And on the other hand, he's writing in his diary, "Dear diary, I just lied to the American people." And I've got a bunch of these Democrats, in some cases Republicans. This is a valid criticism of Donald Trump during the pandemic when we admitted that he didn't know who to trust. Everybody in the bureaucracy was telling him, you got to trust Fauci because Fauci's been doing this for 4 decades. And he was swooning over Fauci when he shouldn't have been. I mean, the guy went from developing real estate to dealing with an international pandemic or plandemic, depending on who you ask. Let's play some of this here. Bup. And like, look, I didn't quite finish my point. This is, it's good that these statements are being made. These are part of the record now. These are part of the official government record. And him pleading the fifth, it's always going to look guilty. We know that he is because we watched it happen. We have now seen the receipts, and it looks even worse because the previous president under Joe Biden gave him this sweeping pardon that said, no accountability for this guy. Because who are the ones, by the way, let's before I get to this one, let's remember a couple of things here. We can tell from these videos, we know exactly how these people vote. So we know exactly which party was unquestionably for. I got to make sure that is down here. This type of junk that was being thrown out here, we know how these people vote. We know which party it was that was pushing the lockdowns. We know which party it was that was, trying to institute some sort of fascism here in the United States. We know how every one of these people vote. Same thing with, and it's so endless here. Let's see if I can pull this one up. Oh yeah, we remember this one, right? I can't play the music because I'll get a copyright strike just because of the tune. Let me see. No. I don't even know how I can play that. So it stood to reason that the Democrats are going to be the one that bail Fauci out. These people are a bunch of nut jobs. Wild. It's so dystopian. And I still think about it. I'm like, did we really, like, it's like a bad dream. But my business was impacted. I was on the verge of, the largest contract year in my business's history. Right up until no contract signed yet. We were working on it. And what happens? Radio silence. And it took me years to build it back because of this little scumbag. Let me play, where was it? Let's pull up Rand Paul's. He's got some good points. Oop. Come on, here we go. This has been like the hill that Rand Paul is, if there's ever a hill that somebody's going to die on, this is the one that he's chosen. And I don't think it's a bad endeavor, to be honest. He's a guy that frustrates me sometimes when it comes to, I don't agree. Let me just say this. I don't agree with everything Rand Paul says. In this instance, and this is the case with any politician, sometimes there's going to be common ground, and I have to eat crow on that sometimes, even though I don't like him. But in this instance, this is a proper hill for him to die on. And he has been doing yeoman's work at getting the farce out here, getting the bad data that was, or basically getting the evidence. Let me just put it that way. He's been getting the evidence out here and telling us about all the nefarious stuff going on behind the scenes with
Fauci
COVID.
today. We haven't, but I think it's important that we do hear from him. So we will have a video we'll play in a moment. For years.
Oh, this is the wrong one. I got a super chat. Let me pull that up first. Hey, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's see. This is the wrong video. Let me pull up the right video, guys. You might have to bear with me for just a minute. It wasn't that one. Guys, what did I do with it? Well, I might have grabbed the wrong one. Let's see. Well, I thought I had it here, guys. Isn't that just the way it goes? Let's play this one. Now, this is a controversial one. It's not Rand Paul, so I apologize. I grabbed the wrong Rand Paul clip. But this was Ron Johnson, and he's highlighting something that this is the other. Let me put it this way. This is one of the things that chapped my backside more than anything was the options for other options, right? Even the ability to consider other options, except for the ones that were making people a boatload of money. This is these are the things that they were shutting down. And let's just play this here.
No evidence. There's no evidence that ivermectin is helpful. On that exact same day, and I've got the studies right here. There was a website that was tracking the random controlled studies. Here they are, showing 60, 70% efficacy of ivermectin. The same day you say there's no evidence, there was all kinds of evidence. Loved ones had to go to hospitals, had to sue hospitals. Just, would you try it? So I would want to know, to what extent were you involved in sabotaging hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and did you do that because you knew the only way you get an emergency use authorization for these drugs, these experimental gene therapy, was if there was no effective treatment, you couldn't get the emergency use authorization. So is that why you helped sabotage these cheap generic drugs in favor of remdesivir, which, by the way, nurses, are you aware of the fact that nurses called it run, death is near?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my right.
Blah, 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 blah. Even the mere mention of other possibilities would get your channel banned. It would get you shut down. It would get you, and the studies were there. In fact, there's one guy, and I don't even know that I can say his name on YouTube because it'll get you banned. And he's a guy who has led numerous studies about other options, other treatment options. He was at the time. And, that's the worst part about it. When you have actual doctors who are saying, we found something, we found a different alternative, we found a different solution, potential solution. It's not guaranteed, but here's a therapeutic. Here's another this, here's another that. Those people were called out as, by the way, very influential, Stanford doctors and people from Ivy League schools, from the best schools in the country. And they were absolutely crushed and absolutely shut down because it didn't match this unified narrative that they were trying to create. And I think it showed, we talked about how it shows the people that are willing to bend their knee to authoritarianism, but it also showed us, the ones that are willing to say, no, not on my watch. Not on my watch. You're not going to, no, I will not take a knee. I will not take a knee to this sort of stuff. And that's what infuriated them more than anything. So they tried to crush people in the court of public opinion. They tried to discredit doctors. And they said, it's just this institutionalization of people and people in the medical profession, quite honestly. Let's play some from Secretary Kennedy here.
He lied about the social distancing. He lied about the transmission. He lied about natural immunity. He lied about the capacity, as you just said, of the vaccine to prevent infection. He got vaccinated, a very, very public press conference in January of 2020. And then 5 months later, he had, and this is the first time that we knew this from the diary, he had a pulmonary infarction, which is one of the adverse events that NIH, CDC, and FDA said are expected from the vaccine. He never told anybody. He got treated for it privately by the best doctors in America. At the same time, he was telling everybody that that was not an adverse event.
Is there anything else we're missing from these diaries that has not been released that you can share with us tonight?
I don't think, I have to say a lot of this stuff is in my book, but based upon other documents. But there's something very dramatic, even for me, of seeing him write it in his own journal, confessing to being wrong, to lying about all this
also loving
stuff.
his own press. They're going on and I'm the most famous person in the world, internationally and nationally. I can't even go out to a restaurant because people want to take pictures of me.
My goodness, it's like you can't make this stuff up. And here's the other part, guys, that people still to this day worship this guy like he is some deity. Oh, the wonderful things that he did, the wonderful government service he did. The videos of him during the AIDS epidemic, where he was telling people that this could be transmitted through just household contact. What he was doing during Ebola, what he did during, he's like, tell me something he was actually successful at. Somebody just hit me up in the comments. Something good this guy ever did, other than become the highest paid government employee in U.S. history, I believe, with his $400,000 pension that he's going to get for the rest of his life. I'd have stripped it away if I could be if I could be a dictator for a day. That's the one thing I would do. I would say, all right, all I need is to take Fauci's pension. Like, that's it. Just I'll take it. He can keep his pardon. That's fine. I'm taking his pension. He doesn't deserve that to get $400,000 a year for the rest of his life. You've got to be kidding me. But from his diary, so these are some of the big things. The school closures, right? Everybody remembers the school closures. And he said, he came out in public and he said, nope. He said, I didn't recommend locking anything down. And he said this in numerous interviews where, no, I never did. I never did that. I never said that. And in his diary, he says, big day. I spoke with Bill de Blasio and convinced him to close the New York City schools. He's ratting himself out in his very own diary. Dear diary. And I mean, imagine Fauci, laying on his bed, his big puffy bed in his big expensive house, fat on his way, what government pension then, but with his feet up in the air like some kid and his head propped up on a pillow saying, dear diary, today I talked to Mayor Bill de Blasio and I told him to shut down all the schools in New York and he listened. Oh boy. Good gracious. Some of the others, let me pull that up because I had a summary of it over here. So the other one was the Wuhan lab. And he said that it was not the source, that that the market was the source. This is what he went with, that animals come out of the wild. In fact, I think I might have that video clip. Let's see. This one might be it. Let's see if that's it. Nope, this is about him talking about the vaccine and how it stops transmission. But anyway, he was saying, oh, this, it was the wet market. It was the wet market. It was the wet market. This was transmission from somebody eating a bat burger or something like that. And this is where it came from. Meanwhile, the evidence has been shown, to the credit of Rand Paul, that NIH funding was funding the Wuhan lab. He also admitted that we never sent people to the Wuhan lab to check on the Wuhan lab to see if everything was being conducted accordingly, that things were being handled properly. Like that at the very least, even though gain of function research had been stopped by the president of the United States. No more gain of function research. And he said, well, that's just the president, right? I'm Anthony Fauci. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the money flowing. And this was part of the testimony from, a couple of years ago where he was basically lying. We have now can definitely determine that he perjured himself. Not that really ever gets any traction. People perjure themselves all the time in these hearings and nothing ever comes of it. But at the very least, this guy saying, completely lying, knowing different, lying to the American people about where this originated and not taking accountability for it. That's why when I think it was Natalie, when you said a little while ago that do I think he feels bad about it? No, I think his biggest concern is it's covering his own backside. I think that's what it was. I get this. That's his number one concern. What's best for Anthony? Oh, thank you, Fran. I appreciate that. Sorry, I'm way behind on comments. Well, at the very least, we can. Let me put it this way. There's some people that are trying to say, if they can put him in a position where he can't plead the fifth, maybe this could become a bigger issue than the pardon can cover. I don't know exactly how that works. I've just heard people pontificating about it. I'd need to ask a lawyer. I haven't found any evidence to that fact, but that there could still be a possibility he sees some sort of accountability. I don't think that will ever be the case. I don't think it'll ever be the case. Seems to me, from what I have, just from my simple mind, what I have read, that it's far too steep of a hill to climb legally in order to get a pardon to not account for the things that he did during COVID. All we can do is look at the face of these weaselly little politicians like this, like Anthony Fauci, and the next time that they come around, we scrutinize the fire out of everything they say. And this is the downside is when they go to the lengths of lying that Anthony Fauci did, when there's a legitimate concern, there's a lot of people who aren't going to take it seriously. They're going to back away from that. They're going to say, no, I can't, I'm not doing this no matter what, when there could be times where it's in our best interest to listen to the authorities. But it completely ruins all of the any credibility that these people have. They lose all credibility. Let's get to a couple of comments here. Juju B, good to see you. I was told verbatim. Yeah. Well, so I mentioned it before, the Stanford study, and this is something that people do not want to mention online, and I'm probably going to get something's going to happen to this video. I can almost guarantee it. But the Stanford study that talked about the number of people under the age of 30 who were negatively impacted. This is just a study, not my words. This is from the Stanford study, that 1 in 16,000 under 30. That's a huge number. That's a huge number. When they said that, no, we're crazy for even saying it. Stanford, not a some right-wing conservative or, somebody who's outside the fringes of the mainstream establishment. This is a Stanford study that said that 1 in 16,000. Those are the numbers under 30. Yo, Rage Bronson in the house. By the way, I'm going to reference everybody to Rage. His coverage of the debate that we're going to talk about, well, it wasn't even a debate. I know you guys said it in the comments, but the Stu Peters and Andrew Wilson, I don't know what it was, Spurgfest. That was basically all it was. Rage covered the whole thing. I didn't listen to all of it, admittedly. Bronson, I didn't. But, yeah, it was bad. Preach it. Yes, he does. Yeah, I'm pulling this one up, Tina. I'm not going to read it just for the sake of the YouTube overlords, but folks can read that one right there about Tina's situation there. That's a good way to put it, Natalie. I hope that someday he has an awakening and he says, you know what I did to my country, the one that I profess to love, it was an abomination. And before I go to my deathbed, I'm going to come out and tell the American people I'm sorry or whatever. I don't think that's ever going to be the case, but pray for his soul. But boy, he's a rotten little bureaucrat. That's for sure. Yes, Tanya. COVID was about seeing how well the American citizens could be controlled. Fauci getting rich was a nice side effect for him. Bingo, bango. Yep. If there's a class action suit, I'll join it. I think there's a lot of people that would. So I am very open about saying that I did not. And I was actually still in the reserves at the time when all that was going down. And I had to go through what I would consider a religious purity test, because I did it based on my issues. Let me put it this way. I was suspicious of the whole thing. And I said, I don't want to go through with this. I don't want to get that. But the military was saying you have to, or you can seek an exemption, but they weren't granting any exemptions at the time. And because I was in the reserves, I wasn't mainlined into the health system. It's a much slower process in the reserves. And so when I said I wasn't going to do it, because of a religious exemption, because of the testing they had done using fetal cells, aborted fetal cells. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And they basically put me through. I had a chaplain call me, and thankfully he had certain questions he had to ask, but he also understood my perspective. So he did it, but he did it very gingerly. But when he read the questions to me, the ones he was mandated to ask, it was a religious purity test. That's all it was. How religious? Are you really that religious? Or are you just saying you're that religious to not do what we're telling you to do, not to inject the thing we're telling you to inject? So anyway, through the religious purity test, it kind of blew over. Nothing really happened. People would ask me on a regular basis, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? Because there were people that got booted from the military. And this is why they came back and said, you know what, all of these, people that were booted because of this, they should be allowed to be reinstated and so on and so forth. So there you go. Somebody asked the question here, what, can't really explain your position, really, because Trump lies all the time and you don't seem to care. I see what you're saying. Dr. Fauci conducted gain-of-function research, which had been banned, not allowed, but been told to stop by the President of the United States. He continued, and it led to an outbreak of COVID-19. That's it. That's it. And plus, there's perjury and other things. He perjured himself in front of Congress, but that's the big one. The big one is, no, we never did. No, there was no gain of function, no gain of function, no gain of function. Meanwhile, he said, because this is how he perjured himself in Congress, is he said, we did things. This is the 10-cent version of it. We did things to this virus to make it do additional things. But I don't consider that gain of function, even though that's the exact definition of gain of function. When you take a non-transmissible disease, you make it transmissible in a way that you can, interact with it in the lab in order to try to find a cure before it becomes transmissible, even though you're the one that made it transmissible. And to do that when it has been banned by the President of the United States, that's a crime. There you go. You want my take? There's my take. This is so funny. We've got a slave to the system right here in the chat. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. There you go. Just keep doing what your overlords tell you. There you go. Keep doing what your overlords tell you. They love your particular brand of crazy. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Dana, nice what you got there. That's funny. What if Fauci came they wouldn't take it. Well, I think it's funny. The way they flipped on a dime. If in case you don't remember, Operation Warp Speed was done under President Trump, and that's where the whole thing came from. And all of Dana's friends were the ones who were saying, "Hey, I would never get this," to include the vice president, the one that Dana voted for president of the United States. She said, I would never get it. I would never get it. And then as soon as they're in office, they say, everybody get it. You got to get it. You got to get it. If you don't, then you deserve to lose your business. You deserve to be shunned. You deserve to be turned into the police. You deserve to have what happened in places like New Zealand. Mark my words, if we did not have an ironclad constitution like we do, what happened in New Zealand would have happened in every blue city, every blue state across the United States. And what happened in New Zealand were essentially concentration camps where you were put in those camps. And until it was, how did they do it? It was, you either got it, the shot, and then you could leave. Or if you didn't, In the words of the news, was she the PM or the president, whatever she was, of New Zealand? It was, things are just going to get a bit more difficult for you, and you may have to stay a bit longer. So essentially hold you in a concentration camp in New Zealand until you bend your knee to the government. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Keep me locked away. But I guarantee you, we know this with 100% certainty. If we did not have an ironclad constitution like we do, that would have happened in every blue city and every blue state across the United States. And they still make excuses for him. And here's the other thing. So this is the left, and the left, they are the authoritarians. The left, that when you're a socialist, when you're a communist, when your God, your highest authority is the federal government, and it's not endowed by your creator with certain inalienable rights. It's the same thing that the left repeats on a loop. In fact, Senator Warner came out and said, these people who believe that their rights don't come from the government, they're dangerous. He said this in the hallowed chambers of our Capitol. And he said, no, whoever says that your rights don't come from government, then they're dangerous. These are dangerous people. That's what they believe. They believe your rights are issued to you by the federal government, not granted by a creator. So naturally, they're the ones who say, bend the knee to my God. That's what they're saying. Their God was Fauci. This little guy right here, all 5'2" of him, that was their God during COVID. And they say, bow the knee to my Messiah. This is how the left approaches it. And this is what's required if you're going to have socialism, if you're going to have communism. It's always what's required, is an authoritarian government and a scared, a deathly afraid, frightened, cowering away, citizenry. That happens on the left. It happens some on the right, but there were people on the right, mostly, almost entirely on the right, who said, absolutely not. And a few people on the left, maybe some of the center left people, who said, now I'm moving a little further to the right, because if you want to run the government like this, I'm not on board. That's how you got the Joe Rogans. He's a lefty, but he was deeply suspicious of all of this. You had a lot of other people, big commentators, who said, nope, I'm not on board with this. And it changed the way people voted, changed the way people, started consuming their politics or how they viewed their politics. Weak troll. Yeah. It's funny. I do get a kick out of it, although I feel bad for him. Bronson said, I did too. First time was fairly rough. Second time, it was peanuts. Like, it was nothing. Golly, I'm going to quit bringing up the trolls. It's kind of funny sometimes, but boy, it's infuriating. It's very frustrating. Dana, he just gave you the facts, but that's the problem with people like you, blah, blah. Yeah. Mama Owlbear. Oh, did they bring up okay, now I'm locked into this for a second. Back to the problem with people like you is no matter how many times you hear something explained, you willfully ignore it. That is so true. This is 100% true. You can give them the facts, you can give them the evidence, but the lie is so much more appealing, and they can't let go of it. It's difficult for anybody to hear something that violates their worldview or that's in opposition to their worldview, and it's very hard to change their mind. But if you are an honest person and you say, oh, that's actually true. This actually happened. The evidence has been shown. Then you say, in the presence of new information, I changed my mind. And that whoever that person is, she cannot. That's it. All right, let's see. Okay. On that note, what a great segue. People unable to recognize new information. Let's go to make a left-hand turn here. And this Stu Peters and Andrew Wilson, we're going to call it a debate, but boy, it was anything but. I'm going to play a couple of clips from this, and I have to make a few points. One, Sneeko, who's the guy down at the bottom, if you don't know, Sneeko looks like a terrified cartoon character. And so I don't know if it's Adderall. I don't know if it's something a bit more potent, but his eyes dancing. I think it's somebody feeding him stuff. I watched him do a debate with Matt. What's his name? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh gosh, the guy who became internet famous because of his debates around the topic of Israel. Guys, help me out. What's his name? Matt. Come on, help me out, guys. Whoever's caught up in the chat, because it's going to kill me. Matt. Oh, I'm going to have to find it now because it's another debate that I think I've played clips from it. Let me see if I can find it. Nick Mattel. Thank you, our house. There you go. In his debate from Nick Mattel. He had people feeding him just random stats through text messages, and he was looking stuff up on Chat GPT. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Our house was first. But Mama Owlbear knew who I was talking about. By the way, Mama Owlbear, quick break for everybody. I did post those T-shirts. They are on the site now. So you can go there, and there's T-shirts and a T-shirt and a hoodie. She had a merch request, and so I obliged on that one. So let's get to this one because it was excruciating. But this is a prime example of someone when given new information, or when they just don't care about new information or actual information, they obfuscate. And this is what it's like arguing with just about any Candace person or a person on the left.
Trial for his life, saying he definitely did it.
And what have you learned in your
criminal justice system in this country means that it's the burden of the prosecution to show us how he did it.
What have you learned actually in your investigation here? What have you actually learned? Just that TPUSA is full of liars?
I learned a whole lot of things.
What?
Yeah, of course they are.
Okay, what? What have you actually learned?
I've learned a whole lot.
What?
But that's not what I'm here to discuss.
Yeah, okay,
I'm here to have you tell me
I'm
how
running an investigation.
Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk.
I can't even tell you what I've learned in my investigation.
Let's get into the theories instead of getting into more personal claims. How about we get into, we haven't seen it spelled out, but what we actually think happened or what is really going on. This is still going on. It's in trial. I would like to hear from both, if you guys are okay with this, if we hear some theories and we hear what do you think actually happened? What's the truth?
So, but hold on a second. To do that, what we're doing is we're prosecuting the investigators, which is millions of people who don't believe Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. There should be no problem providing evidence to argue, to debate that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk.
You mean like all the stuff that they have presented just to this point in the preliminary hearing that show that he did, from text messages to DNA evidence to confessions? I mean, if that's all, that's not. And this is the crazy part. It's like, no, still show me evidence. Well, here's all the. I'm getting ahead of Andrew.
This shit every day.
He's not going to actually give you.
I talk about this. I talk about my perspective.
Can you tell me what you think happened then?
Every single day.
I'll tell you what I think happened. If you tell me what you think happened, go ahead, Stu. What happened?
I talk about every single day. What
happens?
That's what I spend I'm here to debate you.
I know, and I'm asking
Tyler
you
Robinson
what
killing
happened.
Charlie Kirk.
What do you think happened? That's what Sneeko wants to know. It's what the audience want to know. What do you think?
We can find a point of contention if we both spell this out. Then
what do you think happened?
A way to lead this discussion.
What I don't believe happened is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk in his neck bones of steel with his grandfather's stolen .30-06 and confessed to his dad and confessed to a minister and a U.S. Marshal and turned himself in.
Yeah. So what do you think happened?
Hold on. Let him answer. Let him answer.
There can be all kinds of speculation.
I'm not here to give you actual data, guys. Like this is Stu's. This is how I know these people are blithering idiots. This is how I know that this is a grift. Because okay, fine. You don't believe the narrative. What evidence do you have, and what's it pointing to? Just give me that one. What evidence have you got? Oh, that's not my responsibility. Mine is to come out here and guess, right? Stu says, no, my job's to come out here and just take shots in the dark. I'm not required to provide any evidence. They're supposed to provide evidence that it was him that did it, which is correct, and they have. And it's his choice not to accept that evidence and to run with whatever cockamamie idea he can come up with. I'm gonna play some more of this because it was infuriating. Yes, that's exactly. Just make up random stuff, and you too can have your internet show. All you got to do is make up your own stuff, make up random crap, and you can have a show and get millions and millions of people to watch. You don't ever have to provide evidence. That's not the point, right? Yeah, Bronson knows this. He's covered this stuff ad nauseum, and he's very good at it. So, 100%. Let's see here. Well, is it going to
30 minutes to discuss your claims and then 30 minutes to discuss mine? I'm happy to do that. But you can't shift out of the burden of your own claims. Can we start with those? And then after that 30 minutes is done, you can ask me whatever it is that you want.
The burden isn't on me.
The burden is on you for claims that you've made.
It's not on Candace Owens. It's not on Baron Coleman. The burden is not on any of us.
Then let me just now answer my question. Was Andrew Colvett at Fort Tachuca or not?
Watch Sneeko. I'm sorry. We should be paying attention to the content. That guy is so distracting. The wide eyes, left and right, constantly dancing. He's got to be on something.
Was he there or not, Stu?
Where's Andrew Colvett? Why won't
answer
you
the
come out and
question,
answer that
Stu?
question?
And why don't you answer the question since you made the claim? Was he there or not?
Where is the evidence that Tyler
Stu,
Robinson
answer my question,
killed Charlie
Stu.
Kirk?
Was Andrew Colvett at Fort Tachuca? Was Andrew Colvett at Fort Tachuca?
I don't know if Andrew Colvett was
then
at
why
Fort
did you say you were 100% sure he's linked to it?
Okay.
Well,
answer
the question,
do you know all of the evidence that you would have to ignore to consider that to be an outlandish consideration?
You said he was 100% linked. Was that a lie, Stu? Were you lying?
No, I wasn't lying. You
okay,
said
great.
that
So then
Tyler
show me the
Robinson
100%
killed
link.
Charlie Kirk. Everybody
show me
at
the
Turning
100%
Point has
link.
said that. You're the guy who's out here trying to lure people into defamation lawsuits to make specific claims. When the claim has been made that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk.
Okay.
If you have evidence, it's not defamation. If you laid out crystal clear evidence and say, look what I found, and here's your crystal clear evidence, that's not defamation. And say, look, I've got boatloads. Look, I've got trunks full of evidence. Here's all the evidence that I have found. This got dropped in my lap by such and such. Credible source and all. That's just showing the data. They never have any. None. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. And then when they get on these debates, they waffle. And it's the whataboutism, and it's moving the goalpost. I was on, you guys, some of you guys I know watch Gary's show as well. And when I was on his show with the panel, Bronson was there, and Jay Witt, and Artie Trolls, and of course Gary, and who else was there? I think that was that all of it? Yeah, I think it was all. But anyway, we had this panel, and a guy comes on, some random Joe Schmo from his comments, who goes in there and they're just just firing away at all the try to get the banned comments, trying to get banned, and ban me, Gary, ban me, Gary, ban me, Gary. And Gary says, no, I'm going to let you come on. You can come on and we'll talk about it. And we wound up spending 2 hours more or less with this guy, and 100% of the time it is, well, I don't believe that. Okay, why don't you believe that? It just seems weird to me. Okay, well, what do you have that contradicts this? Well, nothing. How about this? Or what about this? Well, no. Let's stay on topic. They can't stay on topic. They move to the next whataboutism. So this lefty that's down in the comments will say, oh, it's always whataboutism. This is the creme de la creme of whataboutism. And then they say, well, I don't have to provide any evidence for this. I can just say stuff. I can say whatever I want to say. And there was an X space where, again, I think it was Bronson that posted it. But there was another X space where this guy gets into X and starts saying anything and everything, just unloads all of his crazy theories, but he wouldn't do it here because he's gutless. I think that's what it is. He feels safer over on X too. But let's. You
know what? Here, I'll try a different one. See if you can answer another one. Okay. So, is it the case then, Stu? Do you believe that a small insect flew into Snow's room and it was actually secretly a government device?
Are you serious? None of this would be a topic of discussion if you could just tell us how Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. That's the claim that's been made.
Stu,
did Tyler Robinson write those messages?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because the chain of custody of his phone he had in his pocket when he came in.
His phone was taken from him immediately, and then a confession was disseminated on Discord.
So do you think that the cops? You think that the cops sent them to themselves?
I have no idea. Did you take money from Turning Point?
Do you to
Stop
teach a
lying
debate
about
course
that.
for one
You're
day?
trying once again to displace burden.
I literally trained a debate course for one day, which I do all across the world for people.
You've been paid by Turning Point.
So was Candace Owens. Candace Owens was
fucking
paid.
retarded.
Candace Owens was paid by Turning Point. What if we established?
I'll just say, I think Candace Owens could be Charlie Kirk's only real friend.
Yeah, but she was paid by Turning Point. Hell of a lot more than I was. I'm just going to grant all of this. They're all a bunch of filthy liars. Those lying bastards, always lying about lying, and then they lie on top of those lies. Great. How does any of this establish any of your theories? How does any of this disprove that Tyler Robinson fired that shot? How is it that when we have text message evidence and DNA and we have bullet fragments all pulled out and we have a medical examiner claiming he was shot, you run out there and say that he was killed by a microphone? You claim Andrew Colvett was sitting in Fort Tuchanka. You've made this claim many, many times. You say Erica Kirk is as well. Are you the liar, Stu? Because if you're not the liar, then look me dead in the eye and say that they were there or they weren't. But don't lie to me, man, and I won't lie to you.
Stu, you got a minute.
It's not incumbent upon anybody that's investigating the death of Charlie Kirk to prove that their theory is right. It is incumbent upon the people who are trying to hang a man, to kill him, to gas him, to shoot him, to put a needle in his arm, put him in a chair. It is incumbent upon the state. It's incumbent upon these people who have this man on trial to prove why it's an open and shut case.
What photo?
And that's the process that they are in right now. And the first snippet of it was seen during the preliminary hearing. The rest of it is going to be seen during the trial. And people like Stu Peters say, in the meantime, this grift is making me money, baby. Money. I'm making so much stinking money. I'll run the grift until the grift runs dry. And I don't have to prove anything. It's not incumbent upon me. All I got to do is throw stuff out there to a gullible audience. That's it. That's it. And anybody who opposes them is a fed. Just because Andrew Wilson teaches a debate course, now you can't even do. This is left wing. This is why it's left wing. Anybody who's ever had a business association with TPUSA is just as guilty as the way as guilty as they think TPUSA is, and therefore cannot be trusted. This is the left. This is the left. People who have done business with Donald Trump, people who have, this is why they hate Dana White, because Dana White had business transactions with Donald Trump when he was doing UFC. Dana White still supports him. Therefore, they think Dana White is the epitome of all evil. This is what the left does. Anybody who's ever associated with my enemy, even in a legitimate business capacity, is guilty by association. This is it. And so just because this is how nuts these people are, just because Andrew Wilson taught a debate course, just because Andrew Wilson says, we're having a trial and evidence has been presented. We've got DNA evidence and doctors who say that this happened. We have, confessions, more than one, from the person who's doing it. None of their alternate theories have even been posited by the defense as even remotely relevant. And because of this, right? Because of Andrew Wilson taking a little bit of money from him, he's not to be trusted. He's just a shill. He's a shill. And for somebody like Stu Peters, who is a rabid, he's not just a person who believes the conspiracy theories of, which he does, that the Jews control the world. He's a rabid anti-Semite. Like legit anti-Semite. Not one that people kind of throw out there if they disagree with Israel policies or whatever. Sometimes they'll get called an anti-Semite and it's not true. He's a legit anti-Semite.
Are you claiming that Erica Kirk forged with kids that weren't hers? What?
Well, you know that picture with her finger.
Wow, by the way, Dana person is still in the chat? Yeah, hanging in there, Dana. You must, I don't know. It's not looking good for you, by the way, in the chat.
You're over it. That was the alibi. I wasn't on Fort Huachuca.
Prove those weren't her kids.
Seen that. The entire
prove those weren't her kids. Prove it. How do you know those weren't her kids?
I have seen the pictures of Charlie Kirk's kids.
That doesn't prove shit,
Stu. Everybody knows.
The faces are obstructed.
It was for the wrong day.
The faces are obstructed, Stu. By the way, it wasn't for the wrong. How do you know it was for the wrong day?
And
How do you
actually,
know?
from what I understand, it's already been confirmed from Turning Point that one of those kids, in fact, wasn't her. So you guys can't even keep your story straight.
No.
From the shill to the Turning
Okay,
Point
who confirmed
people who pay
it?
you.
Yeah, who confirmed it?
From what I have heard, somebody in Turning Point
from
has
what you
acknowledged.
heard.
Yes, somebody in
great.
Turning Point. And you can, maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But
Yeah,
I can
Steve,
see
yeah, that's
clearly
great.
that
You
these are
heard
not
it.
her kids.
Oh, that's great. You heard it from somebody who supposedly through the grapevine.
Andrew,
Hey,
the burden
yeah,
is on
they're
the
on
state
his
to prove
phone.
that they're
They're
Tyler
on his
Robinsons.
phone. They take pictures of him on the phone. Then they pull the data off the phone. That's not
Okay.
enough evidence for you, though, Stu, because at some point the Jews could have written them somewhere, right?
Okay, I thought you didn't want to do ad homs. Where do the
That's
Jews
not
come
an ad
from?
hom.
The Jews are everywhere.
How is that an ad hom?
Because you know that's what you've been watching my show. That's what you want to do. You want me to get on a Jew chat, which I can do. If you want to debate the Jews, we can do that.
Well, what I'm doing, have any evidence that
it's
Twiggs
not
was doing
incumbent
that?
upon me to prove that Tyler Robinson is innocent. Do you
It is the
understand how
second you
system
post
of
it as an
justice
alternative
works?
theory. And what have you learned in
The
your
criminal
great,
justice system.
Yeah,
in
what have
this
you learned in your
country means that
investigation?
it's the
Stu?
burden of the prosecution
Stu,
to show
what have
us
you
how he
learned
did it.
in what have you learned actually in your investigation here? What have you actually learned? Just that TPUSA is full of
I've learned
liars?
a lot of things. Oh,
What?
yeah, of course they are.
Okay, what? What have you
Primarily-
actually learned?
I've learned a whole lot,
What?
but that's not what I'm here to discuss.
Golly. It takes literally a room temperature IQ to run a Stu Peters level show these days. Like, it really does. I don't have to look. All I got to do is memorize some stuff, make a couple of loose connections, and then talk about how much I hate Jews. And you too can be an internet superstar. It was so ridiculous, and I watched enough of it to be like, okay, this guy is. I just sorry, I got distracted by Bronson's chat. Yes, because we were paying for Hunter. Now we're on Hunter's laptop down in the chat. This is interesting. Dana's mom yelled to her that they were done. Oh, I missed this. Sorry, I got way distracted. Ice, I was thinking. Oh, all right. You guys pulled me in. You pulled me into the chat here. Call us racist, shocker at Dana. Just stick to your lefty script. Who's racist? Candace is black, so obviously. Oh my gosh. Were you the one that dropped that in my comments? That there's somebody who came into my comment section. I don't remember the name. And because I was criticizing Candace Owens, they said, oh, it's because she's black. And I'm like, oh, please. All right. Obviously, you do that, you know exactly how the person votes. You can be 100% certain how that person votes. And you can assume their hair color. It's probably blue. There may be a septum piercing. I don't know. At least who knows? Oh, it really cracks me up. I should raid Candace's studio and take no prisoners. Okay. I was on Mama Albert. I was on Lady Luck Club last week. She calls it Candice. That's what she says. She says that's how all of her supporters spell it, Candice. That lady's hilarious, by the way. Lady Luck Club, the Lady Luck Club. That was really fun. I had a great time. Laughed the whole time. This is the one. This is the one that I thought, all right, surely this will get a rise out of him. Oh my gosh. Dana. Wow. Boy, this person's I didn't really like anybody. She doesn't like anybody. Hey, Texas Mother Bird, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. We got a little troll in here, and they're getting a lot of attention, a lot of love, and so they just keep going after it. That's pretty stinking funny, though. Mustache man. Oh, wow. Hey, Angie, good to see you. vanilla. I had the ice lemonade yesterday. It was great. What does okay, I guess we need to know, what does this Dana person think of ice is good? Oh, here we go. I see it. Ice is good. Ice is awesome. Ice is absolutely awesome. Love ICE. Love the job they're doing. Everything that they're doing. Deportations, all that good stuff. Yes. It's fantastic. Fantastic. This is hilarious. Oh man, I'm enjoying this chat tonight. The trolls do make it fun. I should have probably done a horizontal or a vertical stream tonight as well. That would have been entertaining. Yeah, ICE is awesome. Let's see. And I guess Dana, this is just that's just a troll comment. There you go. Get my head up to Trump. Jeez. Oh, the great Rage Bronson. Oh, that's funny. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I think Dana's just a little unhinged. Okay, I'm gonna find another video to play while this is playing out. I'm gonna keep you guys entertained. Oh, here I'm gonna bounce back to something real quick because it popped up in my feed. I heard people talking. That's not the one. Let me pull up a different one here. I'm bouncing away from Stu Peters and Andrew Wilson to back to the Fauci thing. But I heard people saying, "Oh, the president never said do these things." When it came to shutting down the country, that Joe Biden, this is who they were talking about, and I don't know that he ever said it explicitly. But this is. Let me play this one here.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. People who are incubators for every variant.
So that one was the president, and I think there were some other clips. I should have found them all beforehand, but because this just came to mind that I've heard people. This is recently talking about it, saying that the president never came out and said to do these things. But when you talk about all the media establishment that is lockstep with the Democrat Party, they were. All of the reputable people in Hollywood, or I guess not reputable people. None of them are really reputable, but the people of note, the ones that are the social, or what's the best, the cultural overlords to the people like Dana down in the chat. If Miley Cyrus comes out and tells you to do something, obviously you're going to do it. All of this was messaging coming from the Democrats, the messaging coming from the White House, coming from the establishment.
Walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death. For yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm.
About this, in a world of threats and tyrants and terror, you know what our biggest enemy is in America? Our fellow Americans.
By the way, this guy has made a huge comeback, getting snuggled up there with PBD and some other more conservative people. Of course, he went on Tucker's show, so that tells you a little bit about the guy. But these people, some of them, they've recovered. Their careers are back. They're running full steam ahead. It's pretty wild. But this is the type of crap they were saying about and the guy who got in wasn't in a fist fight, but he got in a yelling match with some guy out on the street. And then this was before he does his grand appearance coming out of his basement as though he had actually been quarantining. So, rules for thee, but not for me. He doesn't have to. He's famous. Making the whole big spectacle as though he was, locked away for his, whatever it was, 7 days or 10 days or whatever. He's made a full recovery. They are the ones that are propagating this outbreak.
Being frustrated that there is still a percentage of the population who are not vaccinated.
I wish that he would go further to restrict the activities of the unvaccinated.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
That 25% can cause a lot of damage, and they are.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy.
Well, you know, it's my rights. Okay. But I don't care.
Pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Well, look, the only pandemics we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Freedom not to follow the facts, even if your freedom kills people? What kind of freedom is that? What kind of freedom do they really want?
We have a pandemic because of the unvaccinated, and they're sowing enormous confusion. The unvaccinated overcrowd our hospitals, are overrunning emergency rooms and intensive care units, leaving no room for someone with a heart attack or pancreatitis or cancer.
Shouldn't they have to pay more into the system because they are collapsing our health system? They're the ones in the ERs.
Require vaccination universally. Have the military run it. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you better be ready to prove your conscientious objector status in court.
Almost like it's going to be two Americas.
Wow. It was so dystopian. Somebody made that men, this is an interesting comment. I'm really starting to believe the dead internet theory where NPCs are hired people and bots are those people who run thousands of accounts on social. I don't know where you stand on this issue or the point you were trying to make with it, but there's a component to that. Yeah, I think that there's some legitimacy. I don't believe in complete internet, but I believe, dead internet theory, but I believe that there's enough bots, sock puppets, and other things to manipulate a lot of the data that we see. Because it doesn't have to manipulate every account. You just get enough bots watching something, beat bopping into the chats and so on and so forth, and you can completely shift what people are seeing. You can completely shift the algorithm. They removed a bunch of. I'll bring this back up here. Where was it on? Was it on X? I think it was the head of development for X made a post that they removed something like, it was a small number. I think it was 40,000, 50,000 accounts, but it were bot accounts. The number is drastically higher. I've seen numbers as high as people saying up to 70, 80% of the accounts on X are bots. I don't buy that. But I do think that there's enough to make a difference. There's enough to shift the algorithm. And when the algorithm starts shifting, we start seeing different stuff. And yeah, people can appear more popular than they actually are. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for joining the chat. I don't remember you being in the chat before. So welcome aboard. It's good to have you. It's a great topic. Dead internet theory is one that's interesting. Horseshoe theory, people use it, but I don't know that I've ever seen any evidence, like true evidence for horseshoe theory. Because, there's people that like Tucker Carlson, and people would say that Tucker Carlson is these anomalies on the right, and on the left, they start finding strange bedfellows as they come back around to meet one another. And I just think that Tucker Carlson was, like, as an example, was just a lefty to begin with. I just think that it's people that were cosplaying. I don't know. Maybe somebody can convince me otherwise. And admittedly, I haven't spent a ton of time researching horseshoe theory, but yeah. Dana Johnson. That could be it, dude. That really could be. The man that said that is Dana favorite. What was that one? The man that said that is. Oh, I think I know which one you were talking about. Yeah. I want a t-shirt that says "Winter of Severe Illness." That'd be a good one. I ought to do some more of those. I ought to do some controversial t-shirts, right? Some that are, I do the, well, of course I don't have this one on a t-shirt, but I've got the Socialism Sucks mug, and the We the People mug, which is somewhere around here. Continue Freedom hat. Got Continue Freedom t-shirts. So if you guys want to support the channel, that's one way that you can do it, and you'll walk away with something pretty cool. But I need to do some that are funny, like this: Winter of Severe Illness and Death Survivor. Let's see. That didn't age well, Jimmy. Jimmy. Wow. Jimmy Kimmel is, I mean, at some point he just stopped being a comedian, right? I mean, Jimmy Kimmel he was boo-hooing on every show, and it became more about using his audience to put out a political message than it was about making jokes. He's not funny. The same thing with, with Colbert and all those guys. It's just sad. Like, it's not comedy anymore. It's just politics. So ridiculous. Love you, Dana. I think we were told that lately. Let's see. Two Americas, that would have been. Well, I used to be a big proponent of, secession and all these other things. It's like, just get me out of here. I don't want to be in the, the America that the Democrats want to turn into. Okay, let's poll this in the chat. Do you guys think do you think that there's a breakup sometime in the next 20 years, 30 years? I mean, we're so diametrically opposed from a policy perspective, and the left is that they vote lockstep. The right does not. So it's slower for us to get things done. The left gets in and they just start making sweeping change. And they're a bunch of fascists. It's the whole, accuse your enemy of what you yourself are doing. And they accuse us of being fascist. Donald Trump's a fascist. Meanwhile, they get in and they would be the first ones to institute some sort of, fascist dictatorship if they could get away with it. But do you think there's a break in our future? I would be interested to know your all's thoughts. I'm gonna pull up another video here. Let's see what's fun on X right now. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at my notifications, and I saw this one, which just happened to come from Bronson, talking about Dyer and Wood debating each other. That'll be interesting. Although I'm actually going to be out of town at that one, unfortunately. Here, I'm just stalling. I'm trying to find a good video to play.
Answer based upon my rights.
Why are you gay?
Oh, the internet wins. The internet wins. I'm going to play this one. This is funny. Somebody superimposed Fauci. I guess they used AI. Let's see this. Here you go. Everybody knows this one.
Why are you gay?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You are gay.
Oh, the internet remains undefeated. It remains undefeated. Oh, I saw that one. Oh, here's a good one. This is like throwback. Here's a legitimate concern. Here's a legitimate concern, and I know that there's people out here trying to fight this, but how are we ever going to? You guys remember this? I'm going to play it. Let me make sure that the audio is not playing. Like, this is the type of stuff that made us lose faith in the medical establishment, and it's to the great detriment of America, right? This is the type of stuff that they were posting. Get out here and just do exactly what we say. And in hindsight, we knew that it wasn't always the right thing to be doing. And so now there's just a complete distrust for the medical establishment. And it's most of the people that are in this world, they're good people. And they just want to help people. Like, that's all. That's what they get into it for. They have a Hippocratic oath. Do no harm. They're literally in it to serve people. And the data that was coming through them, the data that was coming through, from the top, from the Faucis of the world, was this whole trust system that got disrupted because of the pandemic, and it's something that desperately does need to be addressed. It wasn't Dana's first comment in the chat calling Jared a name. It could have been. I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Well, in case you didn't know, Dana, this is part of live streaming, is to actually engage with people and not just sit here. I know you're used to just somebody comes in and just sits and spouts off your Democrat talking points and, you know, tells you what you need to believe and tells you, you know, how to be a good girl and a good boy or whatever you happen to be, a good they, them. And, you know, that's it. You just, let's pause this. Golly, it's absolutely infuriating. But in this show, we actually interact with the people who keep this show running, because there is no show without the audience. So it might bother you that I actually interact with the chat. But you know what? It ain't your show. Go start an internet show. Go start an internet show. Exactly. Let's see. You love him. Donald G has had 34 felony. My goodness. This, here you go. Oh, there you go. 34 felony gangster. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. This is the other point, that if you spoke out, if you had any questions, which we're geared to do that. We're geared to do that as Americans. We're geared to ask questions and to be, you know, curious and to not trust anybody who's being an authoritarian, right? It's built into our DNA, and it's unlike any other country. We watched it in, whether it was the UK or it was in New Zealand, even in New Zealand and Australia, where it was particularly bad. And we've got some viewers that are from that area, that we've got a couple of Aussies that like to come into the show. And so many people just caved, and they said, yes, I will do what my overlords say and ask zero questions. That's not wired into most Americans' DNA. It's been neutered out of our kids. The schools have done this. Our, you know, parenting styles, lack of discipline, you know, all these things have kind of neutered our kids to a certain degree, and so they cave to it. We have, you know, weak males and you know, beta males and people that just, you know, they cave to to their overlords as well. So it's, you know, and fear, right? This is how we respond to fear is a pretty big component of that. And we've got a terrified culture. We're not out hunting bears anymore. We're not out keeping the wolves at bay and protecting our livestock and doing all the things that we used to do back in the day. We're weak. We're very weak as a country. And we've got AC, everything's nice, everything's clean, unless you live in San Diego or San Francisco or any of the, you know, left-wing cities, in which case it's an absolute cesspool. But you know, we live very comfortable lives, and when a catastrophe happens, people don't know how to handle the fear, and they go to the higher authority, which is and the authority alone, which is the government. And when the things they don't understand how to identify, not you guys, but a lot of people in this country and a lot of people during COVID, they don't know how to identify what seemed like overreach. There was no overreach. There could be no overreach because of their self-preservation and how they just cowered in fear. And my take on it back then, and my take on it now to this day, is that, you know, was it Jefferson or was it, I think it was Jefferson, those who were willing to sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither. And that's what I said, no, this is something that actually needs to be avoided. We're talking about people shutting down their businesses. We're talking about schools being shut down for extended periods of time to where we're impacting the long-term development of our youth. This is going to have generational impacts. This seems weird. This doesn't seem like a proper response. The fact that we're telling people, go turn your fellow citizens into the authorities if they don't do exactly what we say. It was like living in communist China in some parts of America, and people willfully did it. So to say that just because we're America, we'd never turn on each other and we've, the freedom, liberty, all that. No. There's plenty of people out here who are weak enough to, on a dime, they will turn and they will turn in their fellow citizens. They'll turn on their neighbors. They'll turn to Big Brother for, anything and everything, give up all their freedom. Just save me. Just save me. Keep me safe. You can have everything. Take everything. Take all my liberty. Yes, shut down all the, internet accounts of anybody who disputes or anybody who asks questions and say, this doesn't seem quite right. Yep. Which one was this? I saved this one. This was Piers Morgan. While we got the chat going, I thought, well, hey, why not? We could watch some. Whoa.
I think
Do I get copyright? Hey, Bronson, you might know this. Down in the chat, do Piers Morgan shows get copyright strikes? So many people do now. Let me see if I can drag this over in here. Good grief. Evernote, what is your problem?
Let's just start just with this.
Oh, this is about Andrew and Tristan Tate. I've already played some of that. While we got a good chat going on, I thought, all right, well, I could play something for some entertainment here, other than me just sitting and talking to the chat. Let's see. Dana, now you're getting it. There you go. Bingo, bango. Adri says, Dana's currently asking ChatGPT. Oh, wow. Dana, you already know why we all voted for Trump. We're cult members, remember? Maybe ask all the people that abandoned the left why they voted for Trump. Aha! There you go. Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that'll help me. That'll keep me from getting banned. Oh. I can't stand Piers Morgan anymore. I really used to like him, but golly, the guy has lost me. He's absolutely lost me. It's become a personal vendetta against Donald Trump. That's really what it is, which is fine. You can have a personal vendetta, but I'm not going to sit and watch your content all the time. When anytime it comes up, it's, he's butthurt about whatever. Donald Trump is not as nice to him as he used to be, or I don't know what it is.
They consider the charges to be politically motivated. That's why Joseph McBride, attorney for the Tate brothers, has spent this week patrolling Tooting, Balham, Wandsworth, Brixton.
Your fucking life, Piers.
My wife, she does Uber or whatever, she's getting an Uber. My wife gets a female driver. I'm not joking. She will cancel it.
When that clip went viral and it was getting all the headlines, my wife said, she goes, Mac, you left out very important context, and which is true.
I think our government, they've been lying to the American people for 79 years.
President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio say they will not block the extradition of Andrew and Tristan Tate to the UK, where they face 59 serious charges, including rape and sex trafficking. It's a massive blow for the Tate brothers because only they hold the authority to block extradition if they consider the charges to be politically motivated. That's why Joseph McBride, attorney for the Tate brothers, has spent this week portraying them as political prisoners. There was a very direct appeal for the president's empathy.
The man that I voted for office, who's currently in office, had millions of charges slandered against him all over the place. Some of them he beat, some of them he didn't beat. Most people who understand the process know that that was a load of crap. Most people who see this for what it is know that it is the same exact thing.
Now, I have no idea whether the Tate brothers will eventually be proven guilty or not guilty, as I've said repeatedly, including to their faces. I do know enough to say the case against them is not the exact same.
This is the last time I'm going to bring up this person's comment because now I'm starting to get a little frustrated with it. It's getting old. But he says, I can't stand Piers Morgan because he said, this is obviously implying that's what I'm quoting. No, it's because anytime he comes up, that's all he does. It seems petty, not based on any, it's not, what's the way to put it? It's just pettiness, which is fine. He can not like Donald Trump and all that, but my goodness, it feels like it's coming up all the time. And I get a little, just like I get tired of, like you lefties, you're a novel thing for a little while, and then you just kind of get annoying. Laugh at it, but then the psychosis starts to become very real, and I'm like, okay, I'm not giving you any more attention. I know you're a petulant little child and you want it, but no more from me.
Same thing as the so-called lawfare against President Trump. I can also say with some confidence that the resignation of Keir Starmer as Prime Minister this week had nothing to do with Andrew Tate.
Keir Starmer just retired or is retiring. I'm sure he's mad that Andrew and Tristan Tate had a lot to do with his fall in Great Britain. And there's a new guy in there right now. But this is the last vestige of attack of a prime minister who didn't do a good job. And he continues to do bad work. And I'll just leave it there. Innocent until proven guilty. We're going to let the court process play out here the way that it should. We're happy to be here.
Just to reiterate, Keir Starmer's resignation had zero to do with the Tate brothers. Not 0.0001%, but a big fat zero. Conspiracies aside, innocent until proven guilty is correct, and it's important. I interviewed Andrew Tate in September, just minutes after a smaller case against him had been dropped.
Every time we speak, there seems to be some new case against me, and you quite, rightly say we'll wait to see what happens in court. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, and they all fall by the wayside. This is just one step closer to my complete exoneration, sir.
Correct me if your understanding is different to this. As I understand it, this is one case involving 4 women who are concurrently running a high court civil case against you. So they will have their case in a civil case, but it won't be criminal now. But that doesn't impact the other constabulary, which brought 21 charges against you and your brother Tristan earlier this year, right? That's still ongoing and still separate to this.
That's correct.
Well, none of us has any idea if the prosecution will succeed. The case might be baseless or a legal mess. Equally, they might be facing a lifetime behind bars. What we do know is that many US conservatives are facing tough questions on why their movement adopted the Tates in the first place. Republicans of 20 years ago would have blown their gaskets about Andrew Tate in particular. He may or may not be a criminal, but he's a self-described Muslim pornographer with a litany of outrageous statements and misdeeds. He's also extremely popular and a vocal supporter of Donald Trump.
I'm going to play a comment here real quick. This is the thing. People are defending them to, dual citizenship. It's fine. Or nobody has major objections when it's the Tate brothers. But if they were dual citizens in another country, then their loyalties would be in question. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting.
And that might explain why the Trump administration helped him to leave Romania in the first place and allowed senior officials to make appearances like this.
Hey.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps.
Well, whether people like the Tates are welcome and necessary for winning coalition or whether principle should always come first is the subject of our debate. But we begin with the lawyer representing 4 of the alleged Tate victims here in the UK, Matt Jury. Matt, welcome to Uncensored. Thanks for coming in.
No, thanks for having me, Piers.
This is a very complex case. It's been rumbling on for many years. One, why is it so complex? 2, why has it taken so long for justice to be done either way?
Well, firstly, I would say all investigations of prosecution.
Oh, future. This is the Piers Morgan show about the Tate brothers, and they had Michael Knowles, Adam, I forget his last name, the guy from PBD, and Pearly Things. Pearl, whatever her last name is. I don't even know if she says her last name, but Pearl from Pearly Things.
Crimes of this nature, of this seriousness, are going to be complex, and they're going to take a reasonable amount of time. But one, this is not an extraordinary case, and it isn't any more complex necessarily than other cases involving allegations of rape and sexual assault.
So where are we right now with this Tate case in totality?
Well, the question is which Tate case, because obviously there are prosecutions in multiple jurisdictions.
How many at the moment?
So we have the ongoing prosecution in Romania.
Yeah.
We have the charges that have been authorised in the UK, for which the Tates are pending extradition. We have an investigation, not prosecution, but in the US by the DOJ, which we don't know what the status of that is. So that's 3 jurisdictions.
But the Romanian courts have explicitly ruled that the Tates must finish their criminal proceedings in Romania and trial before they can be extradited to the UK to face separate British charges. Is that correct?
No, almost, but not. What the Romanian court has actually ordered is that the Tates cannot be extradited from Romania to the UK.
But they could from the United States?
But they can be from the United States.
Is the most likely scenario now, pending any appeal by the Tates, that they will be extradited from the US direct to the UK?
Yes, I believe so.
And when would you imagine we could be looking at a trial?
In the UK?
Yeah.
Well, the statistics are from charge to trial and prosecution, the average is 18 months, around that amount of time. How long is it going to take to get them from the US to the UK? That's a different matter.
They're in custody?
They're in custody.
So they won't be going anywhere?
They have a bail hearing next week, is my understanding.
And they have a right to appeal?
They do, correct.
And if that was to happen, how long does that all take?
Speaking to American colleagues, I think it's going to be a matter of 6 months.
Right.
I think is probably a fair estimation.
So we could be looking at a trial potentially sometime in 2027, or would it take longer?
I'd say 2028, but that's only best guess.
Now, the Tate's argument will be, where's our fair due process here? We've been at the centre of these investigations and multiple charges in multiple jurisdictions now for many, many years. That doesn't feel, to me, normal. Is it to you?
No, I don't think it's normal. But I think it's as a consequence of ineffective investigation being carried out by the UK authorities for close to a decade in respect of our clients' original criminal complaints that were made in 2014, 2015. And a litany of errors and mistakes that have taken place as a consequence of that.
You've got the Tate brothers' lawyer, Joseph McBride, who we heard earlier. He says the Tate brothers are American citizens who deserve full American constitutional protections. There should be no extradition of American citizens when the charges are unclear and political. What do you say to that?
Well, there's quite a bit to unpack there. I mean, firstly, yes, they're American citizens, but they're also British citizens.
They both have dual citizenship.
They're dual nationals.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which, again, I thought was a problem. Correct me if I'm wrong. Haven't I heard this? I'm a little worried someone might watch this back. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, gosh, I just lost it. Do I have to... Bronson, you asked if I have to... Yeah, I don't know if I do or not. I don't think I do. I'm pretty certain that I don't. I'll double check it. But I could see how some of those would be taken out of context.
Victims are British. The alleged crimes were committed on British soil. So the UK courts have got jurisdiction. There's no argument about that at all. Now, as to Mr. McBride's statements that this is some sort of political persecution, well, you can go ahead and say it's political persecution, but it doesn't make it so. On what basis is he saying that? He's offered no explanation as to why this is a political persecution.
How compelling to you is the evidence against the Tates? Based purely on the four...
Based purely on my opinion and the evidence I've seen, I believe my clients. I believe the evidence is compelling, and there is an abundance of it.
If they're convicted, I had a guest on earlier this week who said that they would face life imprisonment. Would that be your understanding if they're convicted of the majority of these charges?
I have to confess, sentencing guidelines are so nuanced. I really wouldn't want to pass comment other than to say I think it would be for an extraordinarily long period of time.
Do you think they deserve life imprisonment on what you've been told by your clients?
Do they deserve life in prison? I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not the one who's passing sentence.
Your clients, obviously, they've made the allegations. They've been at the centre of this, but they remain anonymous, rightly. But how are they coping with the fact that their case is being discussed and debated around the world? It's not a normal case. This has got huge global attention.
It's horrific and it's traumatising. But that only speaks to their courage and their bravery in continuing in the face of that. But the fact is, they were dealing with that before they stepped forward to challenge Tate and to campaign to ensure that Tate faces justice here in the UK and is held to account.
You're going to do one on the Tate brothers? That'd be a good one. I'll definitely tune into that one. By the way, guys, you can go follow the Eclectic Journalist over on YouTube. And I think Eclectic Journalist and Rage Bronson are the two in here that I know have YouTube channels. I don't know if anybody else does. If anybody else does, feel free to shout it out down in the chat. Paste the link to it. Yeah, and this is the other thing that I've kind of left it to, you know, I've watched them. I've watched their content. I've watched the clips of them talking about the things that they have done, and hearing that makes the charges against them they don't seem outrageous to me. To be perfectly honest, they just don't seem. It doesn't seem outrageous. And of course, there's questions about whether the dual citizenship, you know, whether they should be extradited or not. You know, people can have legitimate questions about that, but that to me seems like a reasonable thing. If the U.S., if the DOJ is still doing an investigation, you know, they're citizens of the UK. We have an agreement with the UK, and they send the people back there. The question, the issue a lot of people have, or the speculation, is that they'll go back there, and if the case isn't going to take, or isn't going to be within the next year and a half, that they're going to keep them in confinement for the whole time. And another legitimate question is in Romania, where they've been in and out of custody, they've been on house arrest, that this has gone on for years. Why hasn't anything actually been brought? And is it just because it's a corrupt system over there and they're able to manipulate it for one reason or another? I don't know. I don't have any evidence of that. But why is it that it's taking so long? And they're using that as a justification to say that they're innocent. Meanwhile, there's three separate governments three separate governments aren't going after the Tate brothers because the Tate brothers are selling a $50 a month class on how to basically be a pimp. They're not, because they're selling $8,000 membership to something called the War Room, and they're having the impact that on, you know, they're a component of it, but that the U.S. government, I don't believe, is going after them for that. Right? It's because we have them saying, you know, here's how you honey trap women. Here's how you get them to perform in front of cameras. Here's how you take their social media and take their money. Here's how you brand them with your name. Here's all these depraved things. If you're willing to do that, there's a little bit of criminal activity out of the question. And the answer is no. And legitimate investigations have to be done. It has to be done in accordance with the law. And if the UK says that they have something, you've got legitimate questions if you say it's the UK. So the UK isn't going after the gangs that are over there that are exploiting young women. They've got a big problem going after them, but they are going after the Tate brothers. Another valid question. So there's a lot of issues around it. But look, I know the guys are degenerates, and because the things that they've said and the things that we know they've done are quite clearly make them degenerates. Do I think it's out of the question they did some illegal stuff? No, not in the least. Absolutely not in the least. And I'm not downplaying the allegations because the allegations are severe.
The allegations being made against him, because for years they had to bear witness to Tate's rise on social media and in the public domain as an individual of influence.
There's been a lot of intimidation from Tate supporters against anyone that takes them on. Have you had it yourself?
Yes, very much so.
And what's that like as a lawyer to receive that?
Well, look, I've spent 20 years as a public interest litigator, and I've represented victims of terrorism against terrorist organisations, state sponsors of terrorism, rogue states.
So you're used to threats?
I'm used to threats, and I'm used to intimidation. And I've got to confess, this is of another level.
Really?
Yeah.
Even to that stuff you just mentioned?
Yeah, I've been put under surveillance.
Really?
Yeah.
Who by, do you think?
I have to be careful because I've only got there's the conclusions that I reach, which are reasonable conclusions, that I was put under surveillance by those associated with Tate.
At their behest?
That would be my conclusion based on my opinion and belief, yes.
And any direct threats?
What, physical violence?
Yeah.
No.
But threats of?
It's harassment and intimidation.
Just
insults, etc. Yeah.
And you've never had this before in your career?
Not to this level, no.
What does that say about?
Not to the level where someone's outside your house, no, for a matter of weeks.
And what does that feel like?
It's deeply unpleasant.
For weeks they were outside your house? That's horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. I had my personal information unlawfully obtained, which is how they found me in the first place. Because given my career and my history, I'm very careful about what information is in the public domain. You know, my address is not a matter of public record. And I know that my personal information was obtained unlawfully. That was the subject of a police investigation.
Did you hesitate before coming on and doing this interview?
No.
Why?
Because I've got a job to do.
Matt Jury, thank you very much.
Thank you, Piers.
Well, joining us now to debate all this is the host of the Daily Wire's Michael Knowles Show. Michael Knowles, PBD podcast contributor and friend of the Tate brothers, Adam Sosnick. And a late addition, returning to the show, is longtime Conservative Tate supporter, Pearl Davis. Well, welcome to all of you. Michael Knowles, this is, as we've just been hearing, it's a complex case. It's been running for many years. More and more charges have been levelled at the Tates. But what was interesting about this, I think, politically, is the way many on the Conservative right wholeheartedly embrace the Tates. So we've got a couple of supporters on the panel here now. Notwithstanding the sheer volume of very serious charges that were continuing to be levelled against them. And now we have this extradition call from the UK, which the US looks like it's not going to try and counter. What do you feel about this?
Well, I think the extradition was a stunning reversal of the UK's long-standing policy never to prosecute Muslims for trafficking or rape. That really surprised a lot of people, I think. You get the grooming gangs report come out. I just interviewed Sammy Woodhouse, one of the victims of that. And you think, well, this went on for decades and decades. The UK not only neglected it, they intentionally turned a blind eye. They knew what was going on in many cases. They ignored the victims. So that's one thing that raises eyebrows about the prosecution of the Tates. All of that said, though...
I love this. I love the fact that you are subscribed to this channel, Real George Farmer. Oh, it's so great. Oh, yeah, Tate brothers, your friends got arrested. Sorry to hear about that. It's a rough life being married to Candace. Having friends like the Tate brothers.
There, I think, a fair bit of evidence that the Tates committed all sorts of crimes, but they did brag about a lot of this activity. You know, if the crime or one of the allegations that relates to some of the crimes is that they were pimps, you know, they prostituted women. Andrew Tate did brag about that. You know, he did brag about his degree as a PhD, a pimp and hose degree. They are open about having run pornography businesses. In some of the cases here, you have allegations from women who say that Tate raped them or abused them, and you have very consistent allegations here. But then, of course, in some of the allegations, you have women who say that they were abused by Andrew Tate for over a period of years. In other words, they were in a relationship with Tate for years, but some of his behavior was abusive or even criminal. And I think all of that can be true. So I understand why people raise their eyebrows at an investigation prosecutions that have gone on in multiple countries for multiple years. But we should be clear about the facts here. You know, they have been open about a lot of very shady, dodgy, and possibly criminal activity. They are Brits who moved to Romania. Brits never moved to Romania to do good stuff. You don't move to Romania to go bake a pie for the widow, okay? You move to Romania to do really sketchy, dodgy stuff that they've been very open about. And so the reason I think people on the right, in the American right, have in some cases embraced or defended the Tates is because in certain cases they have the same enemies, the same kind of liberal, woke, globalist agenda. That's true. And also because these institutions of global liberalism have been corrupt. So that gives an opening to the defense attorneys and the Tates to say, well, look, just as Trump was a victim of the corrupt institutions, so am I. It can be the case that they're guilty as sin and the institutions that are prosecuting them are corrupt as well. I think both of those things can be true and very likely are.
Adam Sosnick, welcome back to Uncensored. I want to play a clip from Ben Shapiro, who this week attacked Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens and others for defending what he said were the Muslim pornographers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. Let's listen to what he said.
Tucker, as I've mentioned, devoted hours of airtime proclaiming Tate's innocence. So did Candace. The vice president followed the Tate brothers on X. Is this a coincidence? It's all the same people. It's all the same people. These are the conspiracy theorists. These are the reactionary right, horseshoe theory people. These are the Jews did the pornography, and did the Holocaust really happen? Simultaneously hugging Muslim pornographers who allegedly raped white women. Nick Fuentes is constantly claiming to hate pornography. I mean, that's when he's not, having a window open with trans pornography on it. He claims to despise the Jews for supposedly having spread a pornographic culture, despite the fact that Judaism opposes pornography and finds it a sin.
The point of his later comments, Adam, were attacking what he said was the hypocrisy of people like Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens for defending Muslim pornographers, as he put it. What do you feel about that?
Well, I have massive respect for Ben Shapiro and as well as Michael.
This is true. Not all of them are. But I don't think anybody who's saying that they are. What I would say is that the things that they say are not permissible under Islam are they're components of it. Look at, I don't know how much I guess I shouldn't care what YouTube thinks, but Muslim had a 9-year-old bride. So there is that.
I thought he crushed it right there. And I'm also friends with Andrew Tate. You can,
okay. I think we might, this might be I don't want to say a debate because we can't really have a debate with you in the chat, but no, it absolutely can. A religion can absolutely be evil. At the core tenet of Islam, what you get is the radical. So this is an argument. I've watched so many apologists debating this when it comes to Islam versus Christianity, and we can get into this. And I'm assuming this came up because Andrew Tate has converted to Islam, but basically, if you listen to, Raymond Ibrahim is a good one to listen to if you want to hear the specifics behind it. He has studied this stuff to the nth degree. Not that he's necessarily an apologist, but he has shown the fruits of Islam over the centuries, ever since 635, 634, whatever it is. Basically, there are people that can practice it peacefully, but those are not the people that are practicing it in accordance with the strict tenets of Islam. The strict tenets of Islam give you Sharia law. That's just what it is. And there's the Meccan and Medinan phases of Islam, and they kind of bounce back and forth. It's where you get the peaceful terms when he was in... and I always get these backwards, whether it was Mecca or whether it was Medina. So at one point, I believe it was when he was in Mecca. This is when he was weak, and this is when he said to live in peace and to, love your neighbors and so on and so forth. And then once he had power and became a warlord, he's telling people to kill the unbeliever, charge them the jizya, all this stuff. These things are they are evil. I believe that it's a demonic thing. And so I'm not going to say that all religions are good religions and all religions will lead to the same path. I don't believe that at all, not in the least. Zero tolerance for that. I say that the fruits of Islam are conquest and subjugation of people. The fruits of Christianity are the exact opposite, period. And of Judaism. Judaism has got its own, when obviously we've got the same roots, biblically speaking, as the people in Judaism, but Judaism, they've taken things and thrown it wildly out of context to say that it is some demonic religion and so on, and it's not. It's just not that. But the fruits of Christianity and versus Islam, very clear that Islam is rotten fruits. And I have zero problem saying that. I've lived among the people that follow that particular worldview, and I think it's pretty obvious where we go. Anyway, let's keep going.
Have diverging opinions in your life and still respect both parties right there. But I've known Andrew Tate for at least 5 years. I've been a fan of Ben Shapiro for God knows how long. I think maybe if there was a cross-section of two people, it would be someone like Ben and someone like Tate. So you could be a masculine, strong, powerful guy and still have values and conservative principles and standards and respect women. Now, I watch Ben all the time. I saw him do a 45-minute episode on Andrew Tate. I know he's not a fan of Andrew Tate. I don't think Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate, who I've known for quite some time, consider themselves conservatives, right? I think where they both align is that they can confidently say that the Labor Party of the left or the Democratic Party of the left in America are ruining the country and are ruining the world. And if you can team up to get someone like Trump elected, I think that's where all these forces kind of came together. Now, Ben Shapiro, if he had his opinion, he probably would have never had Andrew Tate endorsement. But that's irrelevant because Alina Habba, you just showed, I believe. I think you showed Donald Trump Jr. I think Barron Trump is a fan of Tate. So they'd say have a big tent. For me, the Republican Party is a big tent as long as you love America. Now, Tate is an American. He's also a Brit. He's also moved to Romania. I think we've interviewed the Tates at least 5 times.
Sorry, I keep coming back to this one. Let me play this one, then I'm going to get Ink Infinity. Yeah.
Times on the Peabody podcast, and I'll tell you one story that made me a little more confident in the Tates. You ready? So, by the way, they've been charged with or allegations of some of the most heinous, absurd, horrible, ridiculous crimes, and they've never been convicted of anything. But one time in Fort Lauderdale, when they were able to fly in and he sort of challenged DeSantis, he said he had to go back to Romania. And I asked him, why do you need to go back? You're here in the States. He goes, I'm going to man up and I'm going to show up and I'm going to be there in trial and I'm not on the run. That made me a little bit like, wow, this guy really believes in what he's doing.
Pearl Davis, welcome back to Uncensored. I mean, I've always felt with this case against the Tates that ultimately it will come down to the issue of consent. That they are going to, I suspect, say, yeah, we had relationships with these women, and everything that was conducted in those relationships was consensual. I may be wrong, but that's my feeling about the way this is all going to play out, including the webcam business they ran and so on. But how can you be sure from the outside, given you weren't there when this was all going on, how can you be sure they never crossed that line?
By the way, I'm going to get back to this comment before we listen to this Pearl response. So we're still, I know the chat's still going with the, Christianity versus Islam sort of thing. And so, Ink Infinity, you said, I'm not God, free will matters. I am not saying put up with whatever. What I'm saying is I support freedom of religion, but not Sharia law. And yeah, this is a question that's happening heavily online. Again, for those that are, if you just happen to be joining, it's because I think it got interjected in here that Andrew Tate had converted to Islam, and then that kind of sparked a discussion about Christianity and Islam. And I believe in freedom of religion as well. However, Sharia law is its own. It's the only thing like it. There is nothing else in the world currently like Sharia law, unless you want to call communism a religion. That's still a thing. But even it doesn't spread like Islam, because Islam is, it's not what what's the way to put it? It comes off one way. There's a PR campaign that puts out one certain message, but the reality is in fact the opposite. And it has a political system attached to it, which is Sharia law. So the question that the debate a lot of people are having online is, should this system, this religion, or it's an ideology, should this ideology that also has a political system be treated like any other religion? And I think there's a valid question to say, yeah, I don't necessarily think that it should. You know what I'm saying? It's got a political system. We have watched what it has done to the Middle East. Think about all the countries over there, whether it's Syria, Egypt, all these were Christian countries. They were all Christian countries, and now they are not. Where are the Christians? The Christians are either in hiding, they're paying the jizya, they're tucked away in some corner of those countries. And they love to say, oh, but Qatar lets Christians. Tucker says, oh, but Qatar has all these churches. Yeah, they're churches in a segregated part of the country that can't display the cross, that can't proselytize, or that can't evangelize. You can't go out and try to find converts. In fact, it's illegal to do that. And most of the people that are going to those churches, almost all of them, are the foreign labor that they bring in to build their big, expensive buildings, and do so at paltry wages. There is no freedom of religion in Qatar. So when somebody comes out and says that there is, they're lying. And people Muslims will say, oh, Qatar's got all these Christians. Christians can freely worship. No, you can't anywhere. And they'll let you do it under strict supervision, so long as you can build their big, beautiful buildings and do it for paltry wages. So that's the big question. What do we do about Islam? Because they are a religion of conquest. It's baked into it. Get to the 10%, and then you can get involved in the politics, and you start changing the culture. And they find strange bedfellows. They're perfectly happy for the left to be out here saying Queers for Palestine, waving the flags, in order to keep the PR campaign going in their favor, even though they're diametrically opposed to those people. It's why Ilhan Omar is perfectly fine cozying up with the left, even though the religion that she says she follows, which I believe she does, thinks that all of the major policy prescriptions for the left are abominations, except for the authoritarian ones. They're okay with that. But when it comes to abortion, it comes to gay rights, it comes to gay marriage, and all the transgenderism and all that stuff, none of that stuff swings when none of that stuff is valid when Sharia law takes over. But they're perfectly willing to do it now. Lie, because Takia, I believe, I forget how you pronounce it, which is lie in times of war in order to protect yourself and to protect the faith. And they do it all the time because we're currently they believe this is an ongoing conflict. They're always in a perpetual state of war until the caliphate comes, until the end of time. So it certainly has there's a lot behind it. And do we need to treat it differently? Sometimes I think that we do.
Well, I obviously can't be sure if I wasn't there. I don't know. But if there's facts that come out that back up the girls, then I'll go with it. But I think a lot of men in this country can relate. I mean, you guys have ex-girlfriends, don't you? You've never had an ex-girlfriend make up a lie about you, or you've never had that happen to a friend of yours. And for Ben Shapiro, it's pretty hypocritical of him to crucify the Tates when the Daily Wire has ex-porn stars on their platforms. So they've had Nala Ray, they had on Lauren Southern, who accused a bunch of... Yeah,
Wait,
I
is
know,
Lauren
but
Southern
they
a porn
still,
star? That's news to me.
Maybe not technically, but she falsely accused a bunch of guys in the conservative party. Like, it's, women will do the most egregious of sins and do the most egregious things, and you guys all put them on your platforms. There's no question about it. But if there are a lot of questions
in interviews that go on for a long time. But there are a lot of, that's what an interview is. But then also, I think the crucial point you're missing,
right? But you give them softball
it's one thing to put on people who have reformed and repented,
you give them
not people who are unrepentant.
You give them softball interviews that you would never give a guy, and there's never any penance for it. So it's pretty hypocritical that they're crucifying the Tates for making money off of cam work when you don't crucify the porn stars that come on your platform that also made money off of cam work. Like, there's a bunch of OnlyFans models out there.
We try not to crucify people. I agree. That's true. We try not to do that. But I think you're making an apples and oranges comparison.
I know you think it's funny, but this is a claim from 10 years ago.
Not on camera.
This is a claim from 10 years ago. So it's we're in a country.
But Pearl, that doesn't make it automatically untrue.
I know.
And what we now have nearly 60 charges, and these aren't just trivial charges. These involve human trafficking, rape, sexual abuse, forming an organised crime group. We've just heard from a lawyer representing 4 of the women who says on the evidence he's seen, it's extremely compelling, extremely detailed, and that when people see the full details, they will understand what is really happening here.
I just think there's got to be an end date to it. You cannot keep dragging people to court from stuff from a decade ago. So if the evidence comes out,
you
and
can
I'm wrong,
based on the statute of limitations, right? Isn't that how the law works?
I know. In the UK, it's
well, no. Every jurisdiction has some statute of limitations on certain crimes. I don't really understand what you're arguing for. Are you objecting to the extradition?
But my objection is to the hypocrisy. I just think when he played the clip of Ben Shapiro, I just couldn't stop thinking about how hypocritical it is, because you guys have ex-porn stars on your platform and you give them these softball interviews, and yet then you crucify a guy doing
Pearl,
the same
I think you hit a glitch because you're repeating yourself, but I'm just asking what the hypocrisy is. If one is to do an interview with someone who's repentant or even not repentant, just anybody, you can interview Osama bin Laden or something. That's the job of a journalist. But how does that relate to your objection to the extradition of the Tate brothers for the alleged crimes? I don't see. I get that you don't like Ben Shapiro, but I don't.
Let me just jump in. I agree with Michael. She made her point about the Daily Wire. I think we can move on and focus on the Tates here. That's right.
Well, I mean, my thing about this is you've got so many people on the right. I interviewed Clavicular, on Monday, and he was like, none of this is true. It's all a political stitch up. Blah blah. He has absolutely no evidence that any of that is true.
And Clavicular, I saw a video of him. I don't know how long ago it was. And he said, no, I couldn't have kids right now. If I wanted to have kids, I would have to plan ahead, because he's taken so much TRT that his body doesn't produce any naturally anymore. Like, he's completely tapped himself out on natural testosterone building. And he's like 20-something years old. I don't know why these kids are doing that to themselves. I don't know. Internet fame. I think it does it to a lot of people. But this is the thing. Pearl did this. It's like, let's talk about Ben Shapiro. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Tates. And because they interview somebody like Nala Ray, who said that she was a repentant, OnlyFans person, porn star, basically. And that, well, now because you interviewed that person as a journalist, that let's make that now you're a hypocrite because the Tate brothers did the things that they said they did, which is run cam girls and are obviously not repentant for it. So it's a completely different scenario.
He said he just happened to hang out with the Tates in Miami a few months ago, which became notorious because they played the Kanye Heil Hitler song and they were all seen dancing along to it.
Hey, thanks for the super chat. That's great. All right. Thank you for the super chat, I Rule. You're awesome.
You know, but there are a lot of people racing to defend these guys. I've interviewed Andrew Tate 5 times, I think, maybe more. And I've always made the point, look, until you're proven guilty of something, I believe in due process, and anyone is entitled to be innocent till proven guilty. But, you know, my point, I think, Adam, about this is that the volume of the charges and the severity of the charges means the prosecutors must be confident they have a pretty strong case here. And these are really serious allegations. And so the rather trivial way that many on the conservative right in America have simply dismissed all this as political stuff, I think is ridiculous.
By the way, I'm assuming you're kidding, right, Bronson? You are joking about that, right? I might be behind. Is she sick? She has aged. For a girl her age, the internet has taken its toll on her. We got Edie Marie in the house too. Guys, go check out Edie Marie's channel. We got several other YouTube creators on here. So Eclectic Journalist, we've got Edie Marie, we've got Rage Bronson, we've got, who was the other one that's in here? Don't let me miss anybody. Go check out the channels, guys. and Biker, okay, Edie, let everybody know the Biker Babe, what's the one that it is? I forget what it's called. Biker, I forget it. Put it up, put it in the chat, and everybody can go follow it. It's hilarious. Oh, and Dana Johnson came back. All right. Great.
I just find it hard to believe it. If they were in a relationship with him after.
Well, hang on, Paul. I'll come to you, but just Adam, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Look, I can't tell you how much.
Oh, thanks, Edie Marie. Sorry, I'm getting straight to the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. There it is. Okay, yes. Biker Babe 7000. Go follow Candyland Biker Babe 7000. Go follow that. CBCLBB7K. Go follow that one. Fantastic. And thank you so much for the super chat, Edie Marie. I appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it.
Content and in interviews legitimately with both Tates I've done on this. And what I realized, there's 3 camps. There's the camps that are going to say, put them to jail, they're rapists, I can't believe them, they're such scumbags, toxic masculinity. You're not going to convince those people of anything. There's the people who are going to say, bro, he's innocent, straight up, it's all a hit job, it's a political warfare, this is what's going on, it's weaponized. You're not going to convince those people otherwise. What I hope in America and around the world is there's still reasonable people who are willing to look at what's called facts. I believe Ben Shapiro talked about facts, not feelings, and legitimately see what happened here. Here's my experience. I remember 3 years ago when we first interviewed Andrew Tate, I want to say, in Spain, Madrid. We had to meet at a secret location with PBD. Then that's when he got canceled. Then we had to fly to Romania to their compound after I was on house arrest. I remember all these different situations and everyone saying, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. What happened in Romania specifically? Let's do this. In Romania, he was charged with the most heinous crimes: human trafficking, rape, minors, money laundering, trying to start basically a organized crime. And what happened with all those allegations, Pierce and all my other friends out here? 0 convictions. And 0. Not like, well, we got you on 1 like Diddy. So you have super famous people.
Well, it is ongoing. Yeah, but hang on. The Romanian. Yeah, but hang on, Adam.
Diddy and the Tates are still innocent.
Yeah, but Adam, the Romanian process is ongoing. So it's not like they've been cleared of everything in Romania. They haven't.
How much time do they need?
Well, I think
this was a
there
layup
are
case.
legitimate questions about how long this is all taking.
How many years do they need?
No, I agree.
thought we believe in a fair and speedy trial, Piers. I'm not sure what's going on in the UK these days and the hypocrisy with the grooming gangs and everything going on here. But I'm old enough to remember when Andrew Tate was not a Muslim, and I'm old enough to remember when the UK was respected and also not a Muslim. So let's be fair here, and whether it's Romania and the UK, get it over with, not just because of the Tates, because there's some victims here that need justice.
When you say the UK is Muslim, what you I think meant to say is that 5% of the UK is Muslim. Did you miss out the percentage, or was there some reason for that?
You know we like to have fun in this show, and you know that we're joking, but there's also some truth in every joke.
Well, there's no truth in the fact we're a Muslim country. There's 5.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're going to be either them or France are going to be the first nuclear armed Muslim country, other than, well, I mean, there's a developed. That's the thing that people say. Yes, they are. They're good. Like, all of London is entirely controlled by Muslims. It's wild. And you're right. Okay, I got to bring this up here. This is, I think Bronson said, who are the Tates? And somebody said, I can't tell when you're kidding. He didn't know who Pearl was, or at least said he did. I know he knows who these people are. He's got to. Oh gosh, Dana's back. Any comments? Perhaps if you had some proof, any at all, or whatever. I don't know what that Dana person is doing. They are lost down in the chat.
Percent of the population is Muslim. 95% are not.
And it's going great. The rape gangs, the free speech, everything's going great.
We had a real issue, but as Michael, I mean, you talk about hypocrisy.
I just encourage you to clean it up.
Hypocrisy. Michael hit the nail absolutely on the provisional head.
He's one of the sharpest guys out there, Michael.
Well, of course he is. That's why I always have him on.
Come on. Get out of here.
But this point, there is a stunning hypocrisy that many on the conservative right in America have been attacking the UK relentlessly. Elon Musk and others have been doing this, right, saying, you guys, you protect these Muslim sex criminals, blah, 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 blah. And, of course, Andrew Tate and his brother, they're Muslims now, are charged with various serious sex crimes against women. And suddenly it's all like, well, they're all trumped up, it's all political, whatever. Imagine if people in the grooming scandal had said the same thing.
Yeah, there is a real peril
Piers,
about the
I have to answer this real quickly. Michael, sorry, if I may. Michael, please, and I'm going to give you the floor. Piers, Andrew Tate, number one, Tristan is not Muslim. Andrew Tate's been Muslim for 15 minutes. Whatever's been going on in the UK is a systemic
Tristan,
problem.
I couldn't remember if Tristan was or not.
So
Tristan is not, he hasn't converted. It's only Andrew.
Piers, I'm in Jerusalem right now, and I was in Tel Aviv. I can't tell you how many Brits have come up to say, hey, big fan, see you on Piers. He's the man, love you. We're moving the hell out of London for fear of our lives. And the number isn't 5, 10, it's dozens
I'm saying the hell in London, and I haven't feared for my life.
Lying to me
I haven't feared for
about
my
what's
life
going on
once.
there, I'm going to take
You
their
live in
credibility.
a nice part.
I don't live in a nice part.
Piers,
I
to deny this. It's amazing.
I can tell you, I grew up in South London.
You're great,
on the
Piers.
mean
You're
streets.
great.
I worked and lived on the mean streets of Tooting, Balham, Wandsworth, Brixton. Right, West London is a very mixed environment.
Right?
The problem with you Americans is you don't actually come over here to look for yourself.
I lived in London for 3 years, Piers.
Right.
I lived there.
And you don't think West London has people from
my ex-wife is British, Piers. I've seen this.
West London is the nice part. I lived in the east. So.
Let's get back to the series.
You were not. Because you can't gaslight what we see with our eyes, Piers.
What do you think you see with your eyes? You said, I mean, poor old Adam says he can't. Apparently, Londoners are terrified. They're leaving the country.
That is absolutely not true. At least not in London. And I could tell you just walking around London for 3 years.
What do you think?
This is what commentators do. They want to say, believe my statistics. Don't believe what you see with your eyes.
No.
So Edie, Adam kind of is. He's not fully, and I think he's kind of saying that, yeah, you know, the if there are crimes, you know, there have been some allegations, but he questions why it's taken so long, and he's become, I think, buddy with the Tate brothers. They like the masculine messaging and all that sort of stuff. Piers Morgan is obviously completely opposed to him, even though he's had him on the show several times. But yeah, Adam is kind of standing up for him a little bit.
That's why
I'm asking you to believe what I see with my own eyes.
That was a good one.
I've lived in London since I was 20 years old. I'm now 61.
And the nice part, because
in
you make
41
money
years
now.
of living in
There's
London,
no way you are living.
I have
in the
never
slums of
once
London.
feared for my
You made a lot of
life.
money and you're
There's no
successful.
way.
Embrace it, baby.
There's no way. You did not live in East London. There's no way.
Pierce, I gotta agree with
I
our
worked
friend
in
here.
East
There's
London.
no way that you out there on
I
the
worked in
street.
East.
So I just looked it up, by the way. So Muslims make up 15% of London's population, totaling 1.3 million residents, according to the 2021 census. That's the last data, was 2021. And we know that it has grown a lot since then. And in the top boroughs, the national share, London is home to roughly 34% of all Muslims living in England and Wales. And the top boroughs, so Tower Hamlets, 40%. And Newham, I don't know that, has the highest concentration of Muslim residents in the capital. So, yeah, it's a huge percentage. And the numbers that we've got, if you look them up, it's 2021. That's 5 years ago. 5 years ago. So, yeah. It's a problem. And we could see the video. You know, Tommy Robinson, whatever you think of Tommy Robinson, he's been a guy who's very opposed to it. And it's all over his social media accounts. You can see it. It's a problem.
London. I worked in East
You're too big of a
London.
celebrity at this
I
point.
worked in East London for 16 years.
But not now, see? And there's
How
a
long
reason.
ago, Pierce?
Well, it's a bit like saying, look, I've got a home in Los Angeles.
Pierce, you're dating yourself, baby.
No, I'm 61, but I look 50.
You just said Americans
You do.
don't
You look
try
great,
for
but you
LA,
also worked there
LA,
40 years ago, big
LA
dog.
is the same. I have a home in LA. There are parts of LA where you might fear for your life. Most of the places you don't. Same with London.
Pierce, next thing you're going to tell me that LA's doing just fine as well, and there's no
It's not.
homeless
I don't
problem.
like the way LA's gone at all. Let's come back to the text. Let me bring in.
I love you so much,
There's a wider
Pierce.
show to be had about whether Britain is. It's so terrifying. Everyone has to leave. It's bullshit. But anyway,
No,
by the
it's
way,
not
let's
terrifying
not
when you
even
can
get
afford
into.
to live
Andrew
in the
Tate
nice
is the
part.
one.
Let me ask
Andrew
you
wants
one
Andrew
question.
Tate saying this
Let
out
me
loud.
ask you one question. Which city are you all currently in? Mike, where are you?
I'm in the free air of Nashville, Tennessee. But to your point, I was just with you, Piers, in London.
Yes, you were.
And I
Did you fear for your
survive.
life?
But, well, the one thing is, because I'm Sicilian, I might pass for like a North Pakistani. So they might have let me off the hook. I don't know. I didn't have any danger when I was there.
You never fear for your life. Where are you, Adam, at the moment? Miami?
Well, I'm born and raised Miami. I just happen to be in Jerusalem right now. That's why I gave you all those people who are basically saying they're trying to leave London. So that's my experience here. That's my lived experience, Pierce.
And Pearl,
it's just my lived
Pearl, where are
experience. It's my
you?
truth.
I spent 3 years in London.
Where are you now?
And now I left because it actually was so bad.
Where are you now?
And now I live in Dallas.
So you want me to believe that the Dallas murder rate, for example, is better than London's?
I don't know what the murder rate is.
Let me
It's
help
better-
you.
it's-
The murder rate in every American major city is infinitesimally worse than it is in London.
I can't.
Why are you not
Let's
scared
go
of
to,
your
let's
life?
go to the rape statistics. Let's go to
but
the
you were-
knife attack statistics.
Yeah, look, you were talking about the Muslims being in London, and it's only 5%. And
Yeah.
I said that is absolutely not true. And
No, I said
could-
5% in the UK.
Yeah, whatever it is in London, it's
How
way
much
higher.
in
And it's
London, though,
completely-
Pierce?
And it's
Well,
a completely different
slightly higher in
experience.
London, as it is in most most American cities.
Slightly. Oh my God.
Let me bring
have
things
fun
back.
in the West.
You know
I
what?
would
There's a
live there
bigger show to be had about the murder rate in America compared to London.
I agree.
Trust me, we will win. But let me bring it back to the Tates. So, Michael, let's talk about where we are with this case, because they are likely to be extradited, I would say, within the next 6 months, whatever happens, back to the UK. They're likely to then face quite a lengthy trial, probably, as we heard from a lawyer for some of the alleged victims, in 2028. So this could get wrapped up sometime in 2028. It is, to me, an unfeasibly long time from start to finish this, but at least there seems to be some light at the end of the criminal tunnel, if you like, for these two guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and look, Piers loves to make this because they've got gun control in the UK. And look, in the UK, they've got knife attacks, they've got acid attacks, they've had people being pushed in front of public transit, which happens here as well. But you're also comparing a country of, what is it, 70 million to the US, which I think we're at 350, something like that. And it's concentrated in different parts of the country. So in London versus, certain high crime areas of blue cities, and it's largely in blue cities, although some red cities do, and red states have some crime problems. Little Rock, Arkansas is a huge problem. I think it's consistently been out of the per 100,000 rate. It's been in like the top 10. But it's two different places, and he blames it simply on guns. That's it, basically, because we've got guns, therefore we're going to have a higher murder rate, and that's just not like this has been studied to the nth degree, and it's a ridiculous comparison to make. But anyway, let's go.
If they were to be convicted on multiple counts and receive a life or very long sentence, where would that leave everyone on the conservative right in the US in particular that were so happy to jump on board with them, knowing there were a lot of accusations out there about them?
They probably wouldn't look all that great. The thing is, the great thing about being a political commentator or an influencer is you never have to admit you were wrong about anything. And just hope that people, they have the attention span of a fruit fly. The one area, though, where I think people could really be justified in not opposing a conviction of the Tates, but of demanding something more be done, is to the point on hypocrisy. Not the hypocrisy of journalists, asking questions or anything, but the hypocrisy of these institutions. Because the way that the Tates are defending themselves is they're saying, yeah, look, maybe our behavior was reprobate, but it wasn't technically illegal. Yeah, maybe I had this abusive relationship with this girl, but it was a relationship that went on for 2 years.
Yeah, that is their argument, yeah.
Rape. Yeah, that is their argument. And so you can take that to the political level, which is all of the attacks on the Tates are that they're pornographers. Okay, I hate pornography. I agree. I think we should ban it.
But it is
I think
legal.
we should prosecute pornographers. But looking at pornography as an industry, the Tates are small potatoes. Why aren't they going after the big guys who are actually playing in pornography? If you're talking about trafficking, yeah, trafficking is really bad. They may have trafficked girls. Why don't we go after the cartels and the organizations that are actually trafficking people? You have, at least in my country, in America, and actually in your country too, you have the left-wing parties who are facilitating that kind of stuff. You want to take rape seriously? Obviously, we've been talking about the grooming gangs. There's been neglect of that issue here in the United States. So I just say, okay, yeah, great, fine. Go after the Tates. If they committed the crimes, throw them in jail forever. But what about the broader political implications? Because that really is a hypocrisy if you're only going after it when it's some online influencer, but not the far more widespread and egregious problems that are systemic.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Now, look, on the subject of...
And we brought it up with the southern border, the people that were being trafficked across the southern border. Some of it was being done with a benevolent agenda on other people's parts and on the part of other nonprofits. That there were nonprofits getting hundreds of millions of dollars. I cited one in particular that went from, 10, 15, 20 million that they had raised in order to help immigrants and these folks. And under Joe Biden, they went up to around $170 million. $170 million in taxpayer money. And with this benevolent agenda, they were actually facilitating trafficking into the United States. Well-meaning people being used, given taxpayer dollars, and it was facilitating these massive human smuggling rings. It's a problem. So it's a valid point that Michael Knowles is making, in my opinion. But if the guys committed crimes, they got to have, there has to be justice. Somebody said, is this Jared's longest stream ever? And I popped that comment up there. It's close. It is very close to one of my longest streams. I started it, the chat was going well, and I said, look, I'll play a video while you guys chat away on the internet. I'm probably going to end it after this portion of the interview, but
traffic.
Yeah, let's
and
keep
this
going.
is a clumsy segue, but it's because you were in the news, Michael, weren't you, for your views about Uber drivers this week, in which you said this.
My wife comes to me. She does Uber or whatever, she's getting an Uber. For me, I get a female driver, I say, whatever, it's going to take me longer to get to the airport, but it's fine. My wife gets a female driver, I'm not joking. She will cancel it.
No.
Yes.
I am stoked when I get a female
Yeah.
Uber driver because I'm not going to get murdered. Okay, you know.
She said, well, they have a new one now because women are afraid of being like kidnapped or murdered or something. But like, so they have this new one where women can request female drivers. And my wife, she actually goes, she's like, Mac, are they going to do one where I can only request a male driver, please? I want to get there on time.
Is this what your wife sounds like?
Exactly. I mean, it's an amazing.
Now, other than your extraordinary impression of your wife, which I'm not quite sure how she would take that, but were you basically using her but quietly believing the same thing? I mean, do you yourself ever have a female Uber driver?
Oh, how could you suggest such a thing, Piers? When that clip went viral and it was getting all the headlines, my wife said, she goes, Mac, you left out very important context, and which is true. The context I left out is that she hates getting the female Uber drivers in part because I'm so chatty. So I'm talking to them, and the women are much more likely to get distracted than the men. So I think my point still totally stands. I am late to the airport when I have a female Uber driver. They miss the exit. They're not.
Wow.
I take some responsibility for that as well.
Michael.
I'm very gregarious. I like chatting with them. That's facts.
Adam?
Pierce, if you want an argument on the show, you're going to get it with Adam and Michael right now, by the way, sir.
Go
on. Michael knows you're a legend, but question for you. How often do you take Uber?
All the time. I take Uber constantly.
Okay, gotcha. I'm just checking in. Because I haven't, the reason that I wanted to chime in is I haven't had a car in 15 years. All I do is Uber. Like DJ Khaled, all I do is win. All I do is Uber. I don't care if it's a man, a woman. I don't care if they're a he, she, whatever they got going on these days. Do they speak English? That's my number one thing these days. Because in America right now, there's a lot of Uber drivers. No habla español. Yo vivo en Miami. I live in Miami. And nunca personas de conducir el coches habla inglés. None of them speak English. People have been here from Cuba, from Colombia, from Venezuela, from all over the world, Haiti, no English. Now, I speak multiple languages. But please, if you're going to come to America, man, woman, he, she, whatever you're identifying as, learn the language.
Well, I do think, to be fair,
my Uber driver, I've talked about him, the one I had in Florida, the last time I was down there. That guy, he was Cuban. He was very Cuban. I'm talking like heavy Cuban accent. And he could not stand communism. He loved Donald Trump. He loved him. I asked him, I don't know how it came up, but we kind of eased into that conversation. And oh my goodness. Then I started telling him about people wearing Che Guevara t-shirts, people on the left wearing Che Guevara t-shirts. And I thought he was going to wreck the car. I mean, he was furious. He said, they don't know he's a monster, he's a monster. I can't do a Cuban accent. I'm not going to try. But at least the guy spoke English. That's golly, it's got to be a criteria. I'm shocked that Uber doesn't make it. Because I've had the ones that don't. Like you just plug in the location, they pop off to it, and that's it. You don't ever get to have a conversation with them.
Michael knows late to the airport and get in a fight with his wife, please.
Yeah, I do think it's reasonable to expect any cab driver, Uber or otherwise, to speak the language of the country they're in, because they're having to deal with people who want to go somewhere and want to have that conversation. I think that's not unreasonable.
And maybe, Piers, they could even have an ID.
Right, but do you not think that what Michael Knowles said is brazenly sexist? I mean, I have
Terribly
absolutely
offensive.
no problem.
Michael
I have
Knowles
no
can do
problem
no
with
wrong in my
female
book.
Uber drivers.
I would prefer a male Uber driver
Why?
because women are more likely
I
to
think she
get
just
into
wants a man.
Well, hang on. Is there any statistical evidence that female Uber drivers crash cars more than men? I don't think there is.
I don't know if it's by Uber driver, but women do get into accidents more when you look at how much they drive. So men technically get into accidents more, but it's because they drive a lot more. But women do get into accidents for how much.
But is that actually true, pro rata? I don't think it is. I think women
You can
famously are
name
deemed to be
one
safer.
famous sports car driver, race car driver, and that's Danica Patrick. All the rest are dudes.
And there's an
I
evolutionary
think I rest my
reason.
case right there. Men are better drivers.
It's something with spatial awareness. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's an evolutionary reason for it.
Well, you know what I do? I managed to resolve this whole problem by getting a driverless car. When I get to LA soon, I get Waymo, which have neither male nor female drivers. They have nobody. They have an empty driver's seat, and it drives you on its own. And I got to say, first few times it freaks you out. And then you get into it, and then by the end, I was ordering them on my own, literally getting it to pick me up from a restaurant, take me home on its own. And it is the weirdest thing. But actually, there's no chat problem, Michael, for you to worry about. No chat problem for your wife to worry about. They have so many sensors. I saw one of them, one of the Waymos, pull a stunt in front of me to avoid having a collision with a car that I honestly think 95% of human drivers, if they'd been in that car, they would have crashed. And that was extraordinary to watch.
Have you seen the Waymo traffic jams? In fact, there was a complaint that was made in one city, and there was a basically a glitch in their traffic management system, and these cars, their holding pattern was looping this residential neighborhood. And people were calling saying, get these cars to stop. They were driving all night long, just around the block, constantly around the block. And they weren't stopping. And I mean, people were furious. But I also saw people setting cones. If you take cones on their route and they would block them in, people would take just a couple of cones and set them in strategic locations. And all the cars got confused and they shut down a major thoroughfare for whatever it was, however many days. And you can't call anybody. The people that are the remote assistant folks that are supposed to be there for emergencies, they can't do anything about it because everything is done remotely. It was pretty hilarious. It was pretty hilarious.
I think it is the future. Will be Michael Knowles' dream scenario, which is there's nobody sitting there. It's just no one chatting.
It protects you from crashes, missed flights, and from sexism. Isn't that the most important thing of all?
I think it is. We've got to leave it there. Fascinating conversation. Thank you all very much.
Okay. I think I've had about enough of that. Plus, I'm going to have to get to bed because I got to be up early, and I'm an old man. Let's see if we're missing anything here. Explain what she said. Blah, blah. Yeah, somebody had asked how old Pearl is, and I think somebody answered and said it was in the 1990s. She needs. My comment block came over here. She needs a man. She thinks she's a man. I guess you're talking about Pearl. Pearl is just look. She's angry. It's like she's angry all the time, and I think that's what is aging her. Seems to be aging her anyway, very, very quickly. But she spends most of her life just kind of pissed off at women. And look, this is kind of an issue with the internet. A single, very, very young girl talking about all the intricacies of relationships, and I mean, she doesn't have one, and I don't know. It's something that seems a little off. Adri says, eventually I'll be doing 6-hour streams like it's nothing. Yeah, well, I've got to warm up. Bronson said he wants to do a 10-hour one together. So I gotta, it's like running, not that I have been running in a while, but it's like running. You just gotta slowly work yourself up to it. Eventually I'll be able to do a long stream. Let's see. But anyway, yeah, Pearl has kind of gotten into the female side of the manosphere sort of stuff and talking masculinity and what's wrong, but mostly she's talking about what's wrong with women. And, I don't know. She just comes across as bitter. That's basically it. She just seems like a bitter woman. That's it. Was I yelling or was it Adam yelling? I don't know if you were talking about me or him. Let's see. Oh, and Bronson says he's ready for the 10-hour stream whenever I am. Yeah, I got to prepare myself, dude. I really do. Plus, what are we going to watch for 10 hours? Like, we're going to have videos lined up, and maybe it's just to surf the internet, see what we can find. 100% stress will age you. And I feel like that, like the internet stuff, it stresses me out sometimes. And not sometimes, a lot of time. But yeah, it'll you could start seeing it in your eyes and all that good stuff. But it will age you. And when when everything that you're doing is like the rage bait content, that's like, that can't be healthy for you either. And man, that's all that's Michael Knowles doesn't do that kind of stuff. Not that, Pearl, that's like 100% of her content. I don't know that I've ever seen her in a happy, jovial sort of thing. She's usually just sitting there bashing people. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. She's an example. Tina says she's an example of what's wrong with women. Yeah, I know. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's pretty good for me. I don't know. I've done 4 or 5 hour streams. I'm trying to not even make it a thing because I always bring it up. And I was thinking about it today. It's like, why do I keep bringing up the time? Just go for however long it takes. And, it's trained to standard, not to time. But it was rolling. And I thought, why not? Let's just keep going. We'll do another video. And yeah, it's all good. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. Let's see. She looked like Sissy Spacek. Gary. Oh, guys, I think I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. If you haven't done so, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit all the free buttons below. Helps the channel, helps us in the algorithm. We're a growing channel. It's fantastic. I enjoyed being here with you guys tonight. It was fun, and we'll be back again probably tomorrow. I hate being I don't know, vague about it, but a lot of people get a vote in my day to day. So, work and all that. I've been insanely busy, and thankfully I did 2 streams last week, but none of them on my channel. I was on Gary's channel, and then I was over on the Lady Luck Club and had a blast over there. So I had a blast on both of them, but that means that it wasn't posting on my own channel. I'm going to try to do more this week, and I think it might be over on Gary's channel here coming up in the next couple weeks. So yeah, that's great, guys. I appreciate you all. Thanks to all the members who have hung in here, all the members who support us. Thank you all for the super chats. In fact, I'm going to give another shout out to everybody that gave a super chat. Edie Marie, go follow her over on YouTube and on X. Follow Biker Babe or Candyland Biker Babe 7000, which is also another YouTube channel. You need to go follow that one. Appreciate you, Edie Marie, for coming into the show. I Rule, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are awesome. And yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next show. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great, great night.